Well, I was looking for a prize for my new league, a belt or a ring or a nice trophy. My IDP guys went and had my back. The best swag online for champs is found on Trophy Smack. RING, that spells ring. TrophySmack.com has the bling. Good, so good, I have to sing. Go and check them out, they have everything. I can show that I'm the master of my craft. I'm a champion in fantasy and I won't let you forget that. RING, that spells ring. TrophySmack.com has the bling. Use promo code IDPGuys at checkout for a free ring on TrophySmack.com.
All right, welcome, boys and girls, to another officially sponsored IDP Plus podcast. Joined, of course, by my handsome host, Matt Record at mrecord21, back in the US of A.
Yes, sir.
From Japan, was it?
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Okay.
Similar region of the world. Yeah, it was a
Gotcha.
fun trip. Made watching football pretty much not possible. Couldn't really watch anything. Even proxies weren't working. So a lot of it was just following on ESPN as it was going on. I had my most successful daily fantasy week too, not being able to watch any of it. So it's like I get the benefit of doing well, but without the benefit of actually watching it happen. So very happy to be back. Lovely to I was able to watch the demolition of the Patriots the other day. So it was nice to come back for that. I was jet lagged and sad. So I hope everyone's happy.
Yeah, our two teams a bit going in opposite directions so far this year. To my benefit, unfortunately, for your end. So, yeah. Well, I'm Dynasty Santa, Steve Thompson. We are going to jump right into your week 5 game reviews with some week 6, potential waiver wire suggestions and maybe some look forward. So we're gonna add our handy dandy sheets here. And we are going to start right off with last Thursday night's game, the Bears and the Commanders. We saw the Bears offense come to life, which led to kind of a top-heavy IDP scores on the defensive side. So for the Bears, we had the slot corner, Greg Stroman, scored 27.5 points on just 69% of snaps. TJ Edwards taking a commanding lead over the head-to-head battle with Tremaine Edmonds, scoring 21 points, playing 100% of the snaps. Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback, 19 points on 94% of snaps. Terrell Smith, the other cornerback, 16.5 points on 77% of snaps. DeMarcus Walker had a nice game, 14 points on 73% of snaps. There's Tremaine Edmonds, 11 points, not terrible, not great. 94% of the snaps. Yannick Ngakoue, 11 points, 83% of the snaps. Elijah Hicks, the safety, 8 points, 100% of defensive snaps, and 37% of special teams recorded some stats there. Jaquan Brisker slumping a little bit, 8 points on 91% of snaps. Rasheem Green, 8 points on 34% of snaps. Jalen Jones, 8 points, 26% of snaps. Jack Sanborn still kicking around alive, 8 points on 26% of snaps. Justin Jones, the defensive tackle, 5 points, 74% of snaps. Jervon Dexter, the other defensive tackle, 5 points on 47% of snaps. Andrew Billings on the defensive line, 5 points on 39% of snaps. Zach Pickens and Jojuan Williams, 1 point each at 20 and 11% of snaps, respectively. All right. I like to start with TJ Edwards versus Tremaine Edmonds, if we could. You see his snap shares like pretty close, 100%, 94%. Tremaine Edmonds only 7 assisted tackles though, so he had 9 total tackles, but racked them up in the assist columns. Meanwhile, TJ Edwards had 10 totals, but his ratio was much more proportionate: 6 solos, 4 assists, and comes away with his first sack of the season. So, obviously propped up by that stack. Kind of surprising to me that Edwards was used as the pass rusher. I don't know exactly at what point in the game this sack came. We know Sam Howell takes a crap ton of sacks. So, is it just TJ Edwards over Tremaine Edmonds for the rest of the year, back?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we kind of knew someone was going to take that LB1 role on that defense while both being serviceable. I mean, Edmonds getting the play time against 7 assisted tackles. Like you are, mere seconds away from converting that into being solos, right? Which gets you twice as many points for each one. So, I mean, you're not going to be mad about those 11 points. Like, obviously, if you have Edmonds, you're starting him. But if you are in these shallower leagues, I think Edwards has clearly established himself as the LB1 there in Chicago, and we know that's a valuable spot. So yeah, Edwards over Edmonds. However, if you're in the deeper leagues that we're in, obviously both are just absolute smash plays every week.
I know in the invitational where the scoring is coming from, I went with the stack, the Edmonds and Edwards stack. So I'm pretty happy. I mean, they're both scoring very well. But yeah, if you're forcing to choose one for the rest of the season, it looks like it's going to be TJ Edwards going forward. We could touch on the top scorer, Greg Stroman. You know, he's their slot guy. You can see that 69% of snaps. He's propped up with he had both an interception and a sack for some reason. They decided to use him. I was real big on Tyreek Stevenson. He is still the better play to bet on as far as snaps go, but it looks like Stroman has a very high ceiling. You're just never going to pick the right game. I mean, this one I guess you kind of could have, and we're also talking cornerbacks. There's not a lot of people play with, but there's not a lot else left on this Bears defense from an IDP standpoint to come away with. So what the heck are we doing with Jaquan Brisker?
Yeah, that's the only question for me. Like, obviously the defensive line is playing kind of like you'd expect the defensive line to play. Yannick Ngakoue is getting the play time, which is looking pretty good. Everyone else doesn't really play enough to really feel confident in. I don't think even in, other than like the deep leagues. But yeah, Jaquan Brisker, I mean, hand up. Like, I was very high on him. Like, I had him as I think a top 3 defense back going into this year, and he's just not performed. And it's not for lack of opportunities. He's getting the snap percentage. We know that there's a chance that the Eddie Jackson injury maybe is hurting where he's being utilized on the field. And I think really the bigger thing is to, I believe, your credit a few weeks ago with your theory that's like, yeah, when you have really good linebackers that can make those tackles, there are fewer opportunities for the defensive backs, the safeties, to make those tackles. So we just talked about how Edwards and Edmonds are performing super great. They're just soaking up those tackles, and that's not leaving much of anything for Brisker. And one thing Brisker had last year with his tackle floor was he was making a bunch of splash plays here and there. We're just not seeing that yet. So I think in your shallower leagues, you can absolutely, if you haven't already, look for a more stable option for someone that's actually performing well. Obviously, Brisker is a dynasty hold. We liked what we saw last year, so maybe things would come back around again. But I don't know. It's hard to trust him right now.
Yeah, the issue is, so last year he was getting run as a pass rusher on the defensive line and giving you sacks here and there, as well as just more opportunities overall. He is playing a handful of snaps as free safety, which definitely could be hurting him. Only 4 pressures this year on 8 pass rush snaps so far. So I don't know what his pace was last year, but I can guarantee you it was a lot higher than 4 pressures on 8 snaps. He's also overall not grading very well in total, according to PFF. His total grades. He's amongst the bottom third of his team. So something's up there. I mean, maybe the injury is lingering from last year, but something's definitely up. And I mean, dynasty, yeah, you have to hold, but redraft, I mean, there's just too many better options out there than to be holding the bag on this guy. So even in your deeper leagues, I mean, he's headed to my bench if I'm starting 3, sometimes 4 defensive backs. Like, give me some of these corners with higher upside. I mean, give me Tyreek Stevenson, honestly, with his role. I mean, the Bears offense is figuring this out. They're probably going to be in a lot more shootouts going forward, which is going to lend itself to these corners continue to have these higher IDP scores. So, yeah, the defensive line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sacks altogether from not all from the defensive line, but 5 sacks for the team in total. We saw Yannick Ngakoue and who was DeMarcus Walker and Rasheem Green all got a sack. So they had all been pretty stinky. So this was probably the one and only time you could, throw the Hail Mary out there. And Ngakoue is going to be Hail Mary pretty much every week. This was probably one of his higher tackling ceiling games with 3. So when you add the 3 tackles to the sack, yeah, it was a very nice game for him. But of course, the matchup was there. You're not going to get that very much going forward. And definitely play the matchup. The other guys that got the sacks, your Walkers and your Greens. I mean, unless you're playing in like 53-man roster leagues with IDP, and they're completely off the radar and don't chase these points. So I think that's our main takeaways from the Bears. Unless you got anything else.
Nah, those are the Bears.
All right, on
What
the
are those
Washington
Commanders?
side, yeah, on the Washington side, we had nice games from guys that we were hoping to get them from, for the most part. So we had Montez Sweat, top scorer, 21 points on 75% of the snaps. Jonathan Allen right behind him, 16 points, 89% of snaps. Cody Barton continues to be the LB1, 13 points, 100% of snaps. Derek Forrest, 13 points, 95% of snaps. Best Cameron Curl this week. Benjamin St. Juste, the corner, 12.5 points on 100% of snaps, continues to get 100%. Cameron Curl right behind Forrest at just 11 points on, of course, 100% of snaps. Deron Payne, 11 points, 91%. Chase Young, 10 points, 89%. You like to see that snap percentage remaining high for him. Jamin Davis, with big drop off here, 5 points on 80%. John Ridgeway, the defensive tackle, back up 4 points, 31%. Kendall Fuller played 100% snaps, only 3.5 points. Percy Butler, the backup safety, 3 points on 42%, chipped in some stats on special teams as well. Abdul Anderson, the defensive end, backup, 25% snaps, just 3 points. Emmanuel Forbes, unfortunately, he went down with injury, just 2.5 points on just 38% of snaps. Danny Johnson, backup corner, 2.5 points, 8% of snaps. And James Smith-Williams, backup defensive end, 2 points, 28%. So you got the big game, the home run game out of Montez Sweat. Jonathan Allen kind of right behind him. So Jonathan Allen chipped in with a sack. Chase Young gets half a sack, split it with Montez's Sweat's other sack. So Montez Sweat had 1.5. And Cody Barton continues to play 100% versus Jamin Davis, only 80. Now, we like to say, right, that our LB2 playing 80% of snaps is decent enough. But Jamin Davis, I just think he's not very good ultimately. And he's been relying on sacks these past few weeks to keep his IDP stats up there. And you can see what happens when he doesn't get a sack. So give me what you got for the Commanders here.
Yeah, Davis has been just a perennial disappointment, or not perennial, just disappointment all year. Like weekly. Just he had the opportunity. Again, he's getting the snaps, just not performing consistent enough. I really thought he was gonna be like a backdoor LB3, LB4 this year, and just hasn't worked out for him. I think my big takeaway is really the injuries that happened. And one specific injury, Derek Forrest on the IR. The Commanders placed him on the IR, I think earlier today.
Forrest and not Forbes?
Derek Forrest, the safety,
Wow.
is
Holy
on
smokes.
IR. Also Jeremy Reeves. So 2 safeties went on the IR there. So you were already starting Cam Curl anywhere you had him, but like even more so now. I think the real question is there a safety that's going to emerge in a nice spot? Because I can see in this game that Forrest and Curl can both be fairly productive, especially with that stinky linebacker play ahead of them. So I don't know if Percy Butler's the answer. I mean, that's the only safety we're looking at here on our screen, but didn't really do much in terms of production with his limited playtime last week. So kind of a watch and see thing, but definitely disappointing for the safety that is performing pretty well so far this year. But other than that, I mean, I think the players that you're going to play from the Commanders are playing like the players you drafted and about where you drafted them. So keep on keeping on there, and hopefully we get some clarity to the second safety spot soon.
Yeah. Damn, that sucks. What the heck happened to Forrest? Did it say what his injury is? I didn't even know he got injured. I just figured I knew Forbes went down, but I didn't know Forrest. And does it happen to say if it's like season ending IR or
Let's see here.
just maybe the 4-week? Hopefully. Yeah. God damn.
Let's see here.
Injured
Suffered a shoulder fracture.
Okay. So that's probably not season ending.
Yeah, but definitely.
Yeah, at least 4 weeks.
Yeah, the hope is he'll be returning after 4 weeks. So, continue to play Curl wherever you have him, and hope for a speedy recovery.
So for people in deeper leagues, if you're looking to replace Forrest, I think it is Percy Butler. He's got his fans out there. I believe he's a second-year man. Definitely, has people, guys that are sickos that know these deep players. He's got a fan base out there from, like, I guess you could call it the Devy or the college fantasy community. So yeah, hey, Butler is probably the next man up. I mean, he was getting this kind of run, maybe not 42%, but he was kind of the number 3 safety up until this point anyway. So yeah, if Forrest is out for the next 4 weeks and you are looking for a one-to-one replacement or a direct replacement, I think it will be Percy Butler then going forward. So yeah, that stinks because I like Forrest, and yeah, he was playing well. So this defensive line is a 4-man. Each week it's probably going to be a different guy, right? Like it was nice. We had decent floor games out of all of them, so they all hit double digits, which is great. But yeah, I mentioned I was happy to see Chase Young standing strong at 89% of snaps. I would continue to fire him up. I mean, him and Sweat are just a dynamic duo, and then you've got Allen and Payne right in the middle. I think they're going to be a little more volatile, but I mean, any league that you're rostering any of them, they're pretty much weekly stars for you, and you take the bad with the good, and you hope that the good is more prevalent. So anything else on the Commanders?
No, that's about it.
All righty. So, oh man, don't tell me my mouse is okay. So now we move to Jaguars Bills. So our London game. Now, how ridiculous is it that this got to be a home game for the Bills, despite the Jaguars just chilling in London for the past 2 weeks? Like
They
this
must
game
be
was,
getting be getting something out of it, because especially after the outcome, right? It's like,
yeah,
man, you'd expect the Bills to win at home against the Jaguars.
yeah,
And then yeah, the Bills played like a team that just flew over there, right? And the
yeah.
Jaguars played like a team that was well rested and had been in London for a bit longer. So it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's something they're gonna have to take a look at because that just didn't seem fair at all. I mean, this game
Doesn't sit
was,
right.
yeah, was definitely in command for most. It was a lot. It was not nearly as close as that score suggests. I
Mm.
think it was pretty much in command from the first couple of drives there. So we had Darius Williams with back-to-back strong weeks, 29 points on 97% of snaps. Foye Lucan right behind it. Oh, big drop off here in points actually. So Foye, 13 points on 100% of snaps. Rayshon Jenkins, 11 points on 100% of snaps. Tyson Campbell, 10.5 points with our corner boosted scoring, 100% of snaps. Chad Muma, eight points on 83% of snaps. Also chipped in some stats on special teams. Andre Cisco, 7 points on 100%. Trayvon Walker, 6 points, 88%. Trey Herndon, the corner, 6 points on 70%. Foley Fadisaki, 3 points on 37%. Adam Gotsis, 3 points, 27%. Josh Allen, a stinker, 2 points on 85% of snaps. We'll talk about him. Tyler Lacey, a defensive tackle, 2 points, 13%. Roy Robertson Harris, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Clavon Chason, and Yasir Abdul, all 1 point each. With the only guy that's notable snap count would be Robertson Harris, who played 68% snaps. So let's start with Josh Allen. Josh Allen did stack Josh Allen. It just happened to be called back on a penalty because I was watching this game, like basically reading along the play-by-play on the app because I just didn't feel like putting it on the TV. And I saw that play. I was waiting because I put Josh Allen in a league where it's basically your big plays get heavily rewarded. So I was like,
Mm.
let me get, they're gonna love the Josh Allen on Josh Allen. It happened, but it gets called back to a penalty. So that just absolutely crushed me, considering he couldn't get back and record anything besides one freaking solo tackle. So super disappointing, but you do love to see 85% of snaps. And he's just one of these volatile guys, like most edge rushers. It's going to be games like this, and you're just going to take the bad with the good. So
They can't all be TJ Watt or Myles Garrett, where like you're getting like at least a sack every week. And we'll get to the
yeah,
Cowboys stinker as well. And like even your Micah Parsons have, bad games,
uh-huh. 2 in
and
a
Josh
row,
Allen.
Micah.
And Josh Allen's a tier. I think
Right.
we'd all recognize that Josh Allen's a tier or two down from even
Yeah,
those elite guys. So yeah, if
yeah.
he's playing as your DE3, like he's getting the play time. Like it's
Mhm.
very rare, I think, to have players getting especially at that position, not in a huge rotation. Like getting 85% of play time is huge, right? It just so happens that he went up against a quarterback that doesn't really get sacked. Josh Allen, is mobile and huge and hard to get down.
Yeah.
So like it's one of those matchup things that just didn't really work out for Josh Allen. I think if you have him, you're still throwing him out there in that DE3 spot, and you're hoping for better days. Just this is one of those bad ones.
Yeah, can take sacks sometimes, but right, he's obviously more mobile. That's what's frustrating with those mobile guys. It's kind of like the carrot on the stick. They in a bad game, they're taking like a shit ton of sacks, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
If they're not getting escape, but when they are able to escape, like in this one, outside of the one that he did get to him and it got called back for a penalty, then you can see no sacks for the
right.
Jaguars for anybody, which that's what we'll say. When I said I was kind of surprised re-looking at these scores, you have Darius Williams propped up at the top there with a very nice game, 7 tackles, an interception, pass defended, and a forced fumble. Led to his very nice score. He had a pick 6 last week. So, Williams, I think we told you last week, don't chase the points. I'm kind of going to stick to that. He did play 97% of snaps, so that's nice. So, I mean, if you want to roll the dice and you're in big play rewarded scoring leagues, then he probably does have a higher ceiling than Tyson Williams. But I'm betting on the Tyson Williams role for the most part. I'm betting on the tackle floor. These picks are, unless he's going to have a Trayvon Diggs type year, which they do come out of nowhere. But Tyson Williams does get targeted. That's why we like him so much. He plays all the snaps and he's not like a shutdown guy. So he gives you a really nice tackle floor. So I'm going to continue to stick by my process and say, great, awesome for Darius Williams. If you picked him up and are throwing him in your starting lineup, great. But I'm not sticking with that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and the Jaguars next week, we're talking streaming, right? They play the Colts, who have Gardner Minshew at quarterback, right? I think Richardson is confirmed out. So I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, right? It's definitely a wild card. You'd imagine to be more traditional throwing, but now that Jonathan Taylor's back, and that running game was fairly efficient this week. I don't know if there's gonna be as many passes as you'd want to really trust any of these streaming defensive backs from the Jaguars. But yeah, 2 weeks in a row, like fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. Like maybe we should do something about it.
Yeah. The other guy to take note of is Chad Muma. You saw he was playing some special teams as well. He's likely headed back to a reserve role next week with Devin Lloyd returning, but we obviously want to monitor practice statuses going forward through the week because, so these guys with these hand injuries, right? We'll talk about coming up here the next game. Denzel Perryman returned with the cast. Hassan Reddick, prior to having his cast off, was terrible. So if Devin Lloyd is going to come back with some sort of club on his hand, then we might want to hold our Chad Muma shares and not cast him right back to the waivers right away because, depending on what this return is actually going to look like, Muma might still have some value going forward. A very modest game here, but again, 60 snaps on defense, not a ton to go around to record stats, and he still gave you his typical tackle floor. Unfortunately, just didn't give you stats pretty much anywhere else besides tackles. So we're gonna take it easy on Chad Muma. We're maybe gonna hold. If you need to drop him to pick up someone better, fine. But in my deeper leagues where I'm starting 3 or 4 linebackers and maybe a flex or 2, I think I'm holding. So you got anything else on Jacksonville?
I think that's about it.
All right. On the Buffalo side, we had AJ Epinesa with another monster game, 29 points on 67% of snaps. Terrell Bernard, 24 points, 100% of snaps. Kaiir Elam, the cornerback, takes over for Tre'Davious White, 23 points on 91% of snaps. Ed Oliver, really nice game, 23 points on 81%, which is great for a defensive tackle. Dane Jackson, the other corner, 19.5 points, 100% of snaps. Leonard Floyd, 17 points, 52%. Terrell Dodson, 16 points on 62%. And we'll get to why his name is showing up here. Micah Hyde, 11 points on 100% of snaps. Dorian Williams, 9 points, 36 on defense, 56% on special teams where he chipped in some stats. Teron Johnson, 8.5 points, 83%. Jordan Poyer, 8 points, 100%. Kingsley Jonathan, backup defensive end, 7 points, 30%. Also chipped in special teams. Matt Milano goes down with a really bad injury, just 6 points on 12% of snaps. Jordan Phillips, 5 points, 44%. Kendall Vickers, 3 points, 52%. Cameron Lewis, 2.5 points on 6%. Tim Settle, 2 points, 47%. Von Miller returns with just 1 point on 23% of snaps. Got to start with my man Matt Milano going down with a really bad, I think, a leg fracture,
Brutal.
probably out for the year. So
Brutal. And we were talking forever in the offseason about who's, the LB2, like who's it gonna be? Well, it turns out if you stuck with any of them, they're gonna be playing.
yeah,
Right? Because like Dorian Williams is gonna get his shine. Only 36%. And like I think it is noteworthy. Granted, there wasn't a whole lot of time to prepare for this kind of injury, right? But Milano was out pretty dang early, right? And then look at those linebacker snap shares, right? So Tara Bernard, 100%. Like he was gonna be playing the entire time anyway, beside
yeah,
Matt Milano, which we've known. But really, yeah, who's that LB2? Like who's gonna you know, get those extra snaps. And in this game, it was Tyrell Dodson, right?
mhm,
62%. Not nearly what you'd want in terms of play time to actually trust him as someone to go pick up. Granted, I'm sure he's going to be the topic of many waiver wire shows because, there
yeah,
is an opportunity there. For me,
absolutely.
I think, and this is, I, we said this before, it hasn't really transpired yet. I'm sticking by it. I think this is a plus for the defensive backs, right? Like, I think
Yeah,
Jordan Poyer is going to have a better game than this. I think Micah Hyde's going to see some uptick here, especially in matchups against more run heavy teams. But because these are not great linebackers, and Matt
mhm,
Milano was huge for this defense. Like he's the quarterback of that defense, So losing him is going to change up a lot of things. We don't know how the Bills are going to fill that in. Obviously, we know how they did in this game, but I don't feel overly confident, really in any of these waiver wire pickups. Just plug and play. Like, sure, if Dodson's available, go pick him up as a
right.
speculative ad, right? But I would not throw them in your lineup right off the bat. Maybe that's just me. What do you think?
No, that's the perfect advice. You absolutely want to grab them, but I don't know about throwing them into the starting lineup unless you're in bye week hell or had Matt Milano or and Denzel Perryman as like your starters or something like that. So what was interesting was Dorian Williams actually played the whole next drive after Milano went down. So he came in as the initial replacement, but then Dodson took over for pretty much the rest of the game. So, yeah, who knows? We like Dorian Williams' talent more than Dodson, but if the coaches like Dodson, which why when they played him on that next drive, very confusing. This is something we're gonna have to watch and monitor closely. If I'm doing the priority, I'm gonna go by the snaps here, and I'm gonna take Dodson before Williams. But if I can't get Dodson, I'm probably grabbing Williams as a stash just in case too. But yes, like you just said, that's a perfect advice. And the moral story is Terrell Bernard now just is a weekly LB1 going forward. If he already wasn't, he's locked into that with this injury now. And yeah, we Jordan Poyer coming back healthy, playing 100% of the snaps next to Micah Hyde, also playing 100%. I think their opportunity goes way up. The corners, same. I mean, look at these scores for these corners. I mean, as long as you're not playing inept passing offense, they could be decent starts too, depending on your league type. So, yeah, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a wait and see on the linebackers, but uh, yeah, it just stinks that we lose Milano here.
Yeah, it's
Most
brutal.
likely out for the year. I did want to mention Ed Oliver. I mean, he's putting together a nice string of games here, consistency, which is what he's lacked up until this point this year. I mean, a DT playing 81% of snaps, you can't ask for anything better than that. On top of that, giving you this amazing elite production. I'm gonna pull up. I don't have it on the screen, unfortunately, but our handy dandy tool, one of our many handy dandy tools over at idpguys.org, available only to subscribers, has our weekly fantasy finishes. And when I pull up the Bills and Ed Oliver, started off a little slow, finished 22nd and 23rd. This is in big play premium scoring as well. If you reduce it to more tackle, it gets even better. But 22nd, 23rd, but then the last 3 weeks, 5th, 3rd, and 2nd. I mean, that's what we've been waiting for from this guy since his rookie season. So he looks like he might be finally coming into his own here. And honestly, give me Ed Oliver in all formats over Aaron Donald. Dynasty, obviously, redraft too. I mean, I think Aaron Donald, I'll talk about him, but I did our write up for our article coming out. And I said, if we're being honest with ourselves, I think Aaron Donald is a streamer going forward. And, give me a guy like Ed Oliver going forward. The AJ Epinesa, don't chase the points again. He does this. He has these amazing ceilings, and he's a big play guy. If he can, get a little bit more consistency there, it would be nice. Also, no Greg Rousseau this game, so some added opportunity was available for Epinesa. Obviously, when Greg Rousseau is healthy, that's not going to be there. Same goes for Von Miller as he gets ramped up to full health, only 23% of snaps. That's all going to come away from Epinesa, so don't chase those points. Let someone else waste a waiver claim on him. Do you got anything else for the Bills?
Nah, couldn't have said it better myself.
All righty. So now we go to the Texans and the Falcons. So for Houston, we were a little top heavy for the kind of. Jalen Petrie comes back on fire, 23 points on 100% of snaps. Welcome back. Henry To'oTo'o, 18 points, 97%. Blake Cashman, the other linebacker, 17 points on 96% of snaps. We'll talk about that, but I don't know how much information we're going to have for you on that one. Steven Nelson, the corner, 13.5 points, 100% of snaps. Jimmy Ward, 13 points, 100% of snaps. Will Anderson, 12 points, 68% of snaps. Graylin Arnold, a safety / corner, a guy, 11 points on just 36% of snaps. Also some stats from special teams. Khalil Davis, defensive tackle, 10 points, 35%. Jonathan Greenard, 8 points, 74% of snaps. Jerry Hughes, 8 points on 38%. Dylan Horton, 7 points on 22%. Kadir Holman, the corner, 6.5 points, played 100% of snaps. Malik Collins, the DT, 6 points. And Sheldon Rankin, 6 points, both playing 68% of snaps. Denzel Perryman down here in the basement, 6 points on just 45% of snaps. Jake Hansen, a linebacker, 2 points, 3% of snaps. Kurt Hinish, defensive tackle, just 1 point, 39%. Let's start with the linebacker. So do you have any insight before I try to guess at this?
Well, we know Christian Harris didn't play, right?
Right.
Like he was a scratch, right?
Right.
So we know he kind of stinks, but he's soaked up some snaps before, right?
Yeah.
We know Henry 2020 has been kind of creeping up there already, right?
Yeah.
Before any of these injuries. So he was kind of already making a name for himself. So seeing at 97% with the 12 combined tackles is awesome, right?
Mhm.
I think that's maybe a little more than what we could expect, but he's definitely worthy of starting in those deeper leagues, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean Perriman, it was nice to see him come back from injury. Like my guess is that they're easing him back in. I don't know why they would only play him 45%. While Blake Cashman plays
Mm.
96%. I think there are too many red flags with the Cashman spike here for me
Mhm.
to, let someone else if they want to, you know,
Yeah.
play with that fire, buy that lottery ticket, like we
Right.
expect 2020 to be playing there quite a bit. And like, they paid a lot of money for Perryman. He just came back from injury. I think he's going to see his play time increase. And then once, Christian Harris comes back, that's yet another person to take away from Cashman's stats or play time. So, yeah, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Exactly. So I did some digging on Twitter. Perryman is another guy with a club for a cast right now. So I think that's leading to his reduced playing time. So I did our write up for this game as well. That'll be coming out tomorrow. I think the hierarchy right now is Henry To'oTo'o is clearly the LB1. You can pick him up and start him pretty comfortably going forward, possibly until if Perryman comes back fully healthy. The LB2 battle is between Cashman and a healthy Harris. We'll have to wait and see as Harris comes back, if and when he comes back. I don't think he's lost for the season. So they're kind of the LB2 battle. And then Perryman, while he's got this club, is sort of the LB3 when they do those traditional LB3. He's basically Jack Sanborn right now, though, unfortunately, with this club cast. So that stinks. Now, if we're talking 100% health to everyone, it would be Perryman, LB1, Tuatuo, LB2, confidently. Big jump to LB3 between an irrelevant battle of Christian Harris versus Blake Cashman. Now, that is at everyone at 100% health. So, while they're not at 100% health, I'm really only care about Henry Tuatuo, and I'll let everyone else deal with the headache. I'm holding my Denzel Perryman shares until we get rid of this damn cast. This is crazy. Like casts are just running amok on these defense, on these edge rushers and these linebackers. I don't know what's going on. It's the year of the cast, but these casts are like a dark shadow on IDP production for some reason. So yeah, that's my take on the linebackers. Beyond that, annoying to see Jonathan Greener playing slightly more snaps than Will Anderson. That just feels like stupid. Bad coaching. I don't know what the deal is there. Nobody got a sack in this game, which is weird considering Desmond Ridder, and he's usually a plus matchup for sacks. So, but looking on the optimist side, it was nice to see Will Anderson turn in a decent game without having a sack, kind of bolstering his IDP fantasy points here. So happy to see that he can give you production without having sacks. So that's the only other main takeaway. Jimmy Ward playing 100% snaps. Again, kind of your Jonathan Owens from last year. Like these guys are going to give you these 12, 13. Like he's going to give you double digits most weeks. Maybe not huge 20-point games like Petrie is capable of doing, but he's certainly a solid like DB4 type guy. So, and the defensive line outside of Anderson and Greenard, who are really stand-up edge rusher type guys, remain
don't touch him.
Irrelevant.
Don't touch him.
Yeah. All right. On the Atlanta side, not much IDP meat on the bone here. So our top scorer was D. Alford, the cornerback, with 18 points, 62% of snaps. Right behind him, another corner, good old Jeff Okudah. I haven't seen that name for a while or yet this year. 13 and a half points, played 100% of snaps. The two linebackers, Nate Landman, Caden Ellis, 11 points and 10 points, both 100% of snaps. The safeties, Jesse Bates and Richie Grant, 8 points and 7 points, 100% of snaps. So great there, but no production. Grady Jarrett, 7 points on 79%. Calais Campbell, 7 points, 53%. Lorenzo Carter, 6 points, 38%. Arnold Abichetti, 5 points, 48%. David Onyemata, 4 points, 76%. Bud Dupree, 4 points, 72%. AJ Terrell, 3.5 points, 86%. Mike Hughes, 2.5 points, 14%. Zach Harrison and Eli Anku, 1 point each, 26 and 14% snaps. When you only have 58 defensive snaps to play, not a lot of IDP meat on the bone, right?
Yeah, and this game had no sacks, no interceptions, so no splash plays to be had this entire game.
By anyone,
just tackles. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a defense where I think we have a pretty good pulse on who you can trust and who you can't trust, right? Like you start those linebackers, like they throw their linebackers out there. Like obviously we expect Troy Anderson back at some point, which would make Nate Landman land on your bench because he'll be done. But it's nice to see that you can trust that. Yeah, he's the backup, but he'll get 100% of the snaps, right? They just throw him in there. It's like, yep, you're the replacement. Do what we would have had him do, Yeah, we'd expect the defensive backs to have better games too, especially at that play percentage. Bates and Grant, they've proven they can have big explosive games. Just something with this matchup just didn't work out for them, right? Just didn't happen. I don't love either D. Alford or Jeff Okudah long term. And I'm one that had Okudah as like a sleeper, like a deep sleeper going into this year. This is his first game that he's ever the first game this year where he's been productive enough that we're even talking about him, right? Like he hasn't even,
Exactly.
haven't even said his name. So let's not rush into anything there. The Falcons are playing the Commanders next week, so kind of an interesting matchup there. I don't know if they have the passing volume to necessarily support the cornerback streaming route there. So leave them to the bench. Let someone else deal with that. But I think everyone else is a pretty solid pretty solid spot there. And I don't know if there's anyone here that I'm rushing to pick up. You know what I mean? It's like you're
Yeah.
already playing Grady Jarrett, probably where you have him on the defensive line. You're not really playing anyone else on that defensive
Yeah.
line, especially
No.
at those play percentages. So yeah, I think you keep on keeping on with the players that you already had in here, and we just move on.
Yeah, the edge rushers all stink. If Landman's still available, I think we might have another week or two before Anderson is eligible to come off IR. So hang on to him for now. I mean, played 100%. Okuda played 100%. I mean, he's the one that's gonna get picked on. AJ Terrell is your Revis type guy, one of the
Mhm.
few that are left in the league anymore. So if we see sustained playing time from Okuda, he might be worth talking about again. But let's see it a couple weeks in a row here. So yeah, nothing crazy. Just sucks that there wasn't much to go around here in this game altogether. So
Sometimes it should be like that.
it does. All right. So now we've got the Panthers and the Lions for Carolina. Again, another one where just only 60 defensive snaps and not a lot of meat here. CJ Henderson, the corner, was the top scorer, 16 and a half points, 100% snaps. Sam Franklin, the safety and relief duty, 15 points, 97%. Brian Burns finally comes back with 15 points, 77% snaps. Von Bell, 13 points, 100%. Frankie Louvu plays 100% snaps, only 10 points. Derek Brown, 10 points, 87%. Can't ask for much more from your DT there. Shai Tuttle, the other DT, 5 points on 75% snaps. Troy Hill, the corner, 4.5 points, 32%. Chandler Wooten is a linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, 4
Back.
points, 60% of snaps. Don't know what's going on there. Yeter Grossmatos, 4 points on 60%. Camus Hill, the guy we thought that was going to be the guy replacing Shaq Thompson, just 4 points on just 37% of snaps. And Deion Jones, another healthy scratch, I believe. So I don't know what's going on here. Deshaun Jameson, the corner, 3.5 points, 80%. Jeremy freaking Chin, 3 points on 30% of snaps. Another head scratcher. Amari Barno, defensive end, 2 points on 8%. LeBron Ray, 1 point. Deshaun Williams, the DT's 1 point on 40 and 37% of snaps. Where do you want to start on this one? What are the Panthers doing?
Well, I think we know what the Panthers are doing, and I think the Panthers are trying to not be very good.
Well,
This is
why?
a
Wait, that would be
but they
extremely
don't have
dumb because they gave away the pick.
they
So
don't have their pick, but I don't
yeah,
know if they
that's
have the horses, though, is the thing.
uh,
You know, they gotta see what they have. I don't know what the Panthers are doing. It's all bad. I don't understand I'm looking like there's no Jeremy Home injury to see either. Just they're using him in a weird spot. I don't know.
yeah,
There's not a whole lot of people I trust on this defense any given week. Obviously, we like the linebackers like Luvu. Yeah, he only had 10 points, but like that's pretty stable production. Like that's a pretty good
you'll
floor.
take it. Yeah,
Like I'm not touching Wooten or Grugier Hill at this point. Like just the playtime is not there. Next week they do play the Dolphins, who put together drives. We could play a guess that line. We
yeah,
could play guess that line because I'm expecting the Dolphins to be heavy favorites on that one. So you expect them to have some pretty sustained drives, and maybe you'll see that bump up. Yeah, the CJ Hendersons of the world. Any other cornerback play meaningful snaps? Yeah, maybe Deshaun Jameson
yeah.
getting some play there, but yeah, I think this is really the linebackers and Von Bell, and then I don't really trust anyone else.
Yeah. Thank God Brian Burns came back with the sack. You're not going to get a sack out of CJ Henderson each week. Sam Franklin looks to be, he's been solid in Xavier Woods relief and is, the only thing God, I just hope to God that they're trading Jeremy Chin this week. That is the only explanation for him to play 30% snaps with all their other injuries and him being theoretically healthy. I mean, other than that, that's just inept coaching. I don't know what else to say about that. Get this guy somewhere else. But for your fantasy rosters and redraft, completely don't waste your time. Drop him. I don't care the size of the league. You 1 DB, 5 DBs. I don't want Jeremy Chin on my team. I'm sorry. It's too much of a headache. If he gets traded, go grab him back immediately. But I don't want anything to do with this. I'm shaking. I'm so annoyed by this. Like it just makes no sense whatsoever. So yeah, it's Frankie Louvu, it's Brian Burns, Von Bell, Sam Franklin, and nobody else. I just don't understand. And this is why bad teams stay bad, right?
Yes, sir.
On the Detroit side, some more annoying production. So we have Will Harris at the top, 26 points on 96% of snaps. Aiden Hutchinson turns in a very solid game, 21.6 on 86%. Alex Anzalone, 21 points on 97%. Jerry Jacobs, another solid game, 19.6 points on 96%. Big drop off here. Cameron Sutton, the corner, 9.5 points on 99%. Kirby Joseph, back healthy, 9 points on 100%. Ali McNeil, the DT, 8 points on 72%. Derek Barnes, the LB2, 8 points on 63%. Tracy Walker, the guy who should have had the Will Harris stats, just 7 points on 100% of snaps. Jack Campbell, 4 points on just 45% of snaps. Super annoying. Isaiah Buggs, 3 points, 41%. Benito Jones, 2 points, 58%. Charles Harris, 2 points, 52%. Romeo Aquara, 1 point on 55%. And John Kaminsky comes back down to earth. We told you, 1 point on 34%. So, you get a great game out of Aiden Hutchinson, sack and an interception. He has these awesome games. Just hope that, he keeps it up with the consistency. 3 tackles, 2 for a loss. I mean, just all around really nice game. Anzalone with 11 total tackles, 8 solos, 2 QB hits. I mean, he's had kind of a dip last week and then comes back strong this week. Who else do you want to talk about here?
Yeah, I think the matchup here led to the defensive backs, not the safety specifically, not doing as well as we expect them to. I think it is important to note, Kirby Joseph, 100%. Like
Yeah,
that's huge. Tracy Walker,
that's a waiver wire guy.
100%. It's like, yeah, those are your guys, right? They go up against the Bucks next week, with the resurgent, should be a good game. Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield tossing the ball around. So like brighter days are ahead, definitely for those safeties. And yeah, you'd like to see those cornerbacks with that amount of playtime too. Like that's 3 cornerbacks above 96% of defensive snaps, right? So if any one of them is available, you'd have to do a little research. I don't know off the top of my head, who covers where on the field, right?
Let
But
me
like,
look. I can look that up for us right now. Because yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Will Harris is that annoying guy. He's kind of like a safety corner hybrid. So he had okay. So you know what? This kind of makes sense. Will Harris took over the Brian Branch role. He played
Okay.
58 of his 68 snaps in the slot. He played 1 on the DL, 5 in the box, 4 as a true corner, outside boundary corner. So
He's your guy.
that's annoying.
Yeah.
We hope Brian Branch comes back because Will Harris is also like not very good. I was expecting Tracy Walker to kind of have those stats. It was a really nice matchup, and he played spread out. He played 6 on the defensive line, 18 in the box, 29 at free safety, 15 in the slot, 3 at corner. So he was all over like he normally does when he was a stud in his younger years. So if I'm still betting, I'm betting on Tracy Walker and those snaps. Kirby Joseph was kind of mixed in all over the place too. 14 in the box, 37 at free safety, 19 in the slot, and 1 as a boundary corner. So he played the most free safety role, but that also could lend him to those interception bigger plays. So I think this was a fluke game for Will Harris. I do not know how bad Brian Branch is injured. Let me see if I can look that up. Hopefully we don't have to deal with Will Harris too long. I don't see anything on him right now. So dude, bottom line is don't waste a waiver on Will Harris. Leave him out there. If you want someone from the secondary, it's Tracy Walker and or Kirby Joseph for me over Will Harris, despite the really nice game in the Brian Branch role. Unless we know that Branch is going to be out for an extended period of time. So
yeah, and as much as we want Jack Campbell to be playing more, the Lions are winning. Like the Lions don't care, and they are winning, and they're playing good ball. So his time will come. Wait for an injury, wait for something. But yeah, it might just be next year.
Yeah, it's not looking great right now. And yeah, the defensive line continues to be a gigantic rotation outside of Hutchinson. Lee McNeil, I mean, 72% for DT in your required leagues. That's a great snap share. So
Yep.
if he could keep that up and maybe chip in some more stats going forward, that would be great. So if you need a Hail Mary play, Lee McNeil in the deepest of DT required leagues. So you got anything else for this one?
Oop.
All right. The Titans and the Colts. So on the Titan side, slot corner Roger McCreary, 26.5 points on 94% of snaps.
Yes, sir.
Home run game here. Aziz Al-Shair, really nice game, 22 points. Of course, 100% of snaps. Christian Fulton, their other corner, 18.5 points, 95% of snaps. Jack Gibbons, a really nice game, 17 points, 79% snaps. Kevin Byard, 12 points on 100%. Sean Murphy-Bunting, 8.5 on 100% of snaps. Amani Hooker, my guy, down game, but he'll bounce back. 6 points, 100% of snaps. You'll have to see that. Harold Landry, 6 points on 68%. Jaleel Johnson, a DT, 5 points on just 21%. Elijah Molden, another corner, 4.5 on 15% of snaps. Jeffrey Simmons, a dud, 4 points on 94% of snaps. Danico Autry, a dud game, 3 points on 70% of snaps. Arden Key, just 2 points, 56%. And Kyle Pecco, Naquan Jones on the interior defensive line, 1 point each, 48 and 32% of snaps. So let's start with the down game from Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, it just happens.
It happens. He
When
has the
you've got,
play time. He's got that elite play time,
yeah,
94%. Like
you aren't
you're
fading that.
especially in DT required, like you're playing him.
Yeah,
You're not getting that anywhere else. Like you
right.
got to play him. Next week's a better matchup with the Ravens too.
Very good.
More running up the middle. So yeah, don't worry about Jeffrey Simmons.
The advice is don't rage drop Jeffrey Simmons, basically.
Unless you are in a very thin league. Like I'm in some
Yeah.
leagues where like you could, right? But
Yeah,
for
sure.
most places where you have him, no, you're still playing him.
For the people that are probably sitting here watching,
Yeah,
less than close to 3 hours.
An hour in. First of all, we love you. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
But also, yeah, you don't overreact to Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah. I mean, beyond that, yeah, Monty Hooker, score one for Kevin Byard, although they were both fine games. But hey, stayed healthy, played 100% of snaps. The big plays will be there, the tackles will be there. I'm still rolling with him. It looks like Jack Gibbons soaked up a lot of these tackles and did not allow them to get to the next level for Byard and Hooker, whereas previously, Jack Gibbons is a okay LB2, both for real football and for fantasy. So I think this is a ceiling game for him. So I'm not super worried about the safeties there. And yeah, Roger McCreary can be played over a lot of safeties in DB, in non-CB required leagues. So he's just a monster fantasy role there in Tennessee. So so Jack Gibbons is worth a grab if you're in a super deep league, starting 3 or 4 linebackers with maybe some flexes. He should definitely be rostered. He's definitely an immediate handcuff if something were to happen to Al-Shair. So, the edge rushers, not a lot here. Only 1 sack, and it went to McCreary in the secondary. So, even with Anthony Richardson running all over the place. But this is what you get. Sometimes Anthony Richardson will get sacked 5 times in a game, others just once by a corner. So,
right.
It seemed like maybe a good matchup, just didn't pan out. So, anything else for the Titans?
Not really. Kind of a boring team and boring IDP landscape.
Yeah, I mean, considering the snaps where there was only 66 available, which is around average,
About
but
average, yeah.
slightly below. Like this was a pretty decent game for scoring, and it was just soaked up by different people this game. So your Autries and your Simmons, they've been strong, and don't panic on them.
Sure.
For down game. All right, on the Colts side, Zaire Franklin thankfully was healthy, continued to do his thing, back to 100% of snaps, 21 points. every week, locked in LB1. Kenny Moore comes and gives us a little throwback game, 19.5 points on 100% of snaps. Julian Blackmon, the safety, 18 points, 100% of snaps. EJ Speed with no Shaq Leonard, 12 points on 98% of snaps, gave us some special teams production as well. One of my favorite corners of the year, the rookie Julius Brents, 11 points on 100% of snaps. I love to see that. Samson Ebukam, the edge rusher, 10 points, 68%. Forrest Buckner, 8 points, 80%. Tyquan Lewis, 5 points, 53%. Grant Stewart, 5 points, 35%. Deo Odeingbo, 4 points on 68%, comes back down to earth. Jalen Jones, the corner, 3.5 points, 63%. Rodney Thomas, 100% of snaps, only 3 points. Is more of that free safety. It's going to happen with that role. Grover Stewart, 3 points on 67%. Jake Martin, the edge rusher, 3 points, 23%. Taven Bryan, the DT, had a nice game last week. Played about the same amount of snaps. Told you don't chase him. 22% of snaps, just 3 points. Eric Johnson, Isaiah Land, 1 point each on 18 and 3%. So DeForest Buckner, was happy to see him bounce back. Had a little injury scare last week. Back up to 80% of snaps. Only 8 fantasy points, which was 1 solo, but 5 assists. So he's still, eating up tackles. Just happened to be in the assists, which in most leagues, are devalued a little bit from the solos. He'll be just fine. Don't panic on him. What else do you got for the Colts here?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's speed. I think speed's a story here.
Yeah.
Like you're already playing Franklin, you're already playing Julian Blackmon,
Mhm.
you're already, playing any of these cornerbacks, right? Especially if you listen to us, right? Like very, very solid cornerbacks. Then other than Buckner, there's not a whole lot of people that we really need to talk about. But yeah, it's EJ Speed taking the reins and crushing it. For an injured Shaquille Leonard, stop me if you've heard that before. So monitor that injury, but like if Speed's gonna be
Yeah.
playing not only 98% of defensive snaps, but also 23%. Is that right? Of special team
Yeah.
snaps? Like that's,
Yep.
more opportunities for,
Yeah.
an assisted tackle or a tackle. Like that's like icing on the cake. So I
Mhm.
think he's another one that should be a popular, waiver wire
Absolutely.
addition, assuming Leonard continues to be hurt, because that's, all he's done for his seemingly last few years. So I think he's really the story here. And yeah, I think you feel pretty confident just rolling him out there. They go up against the Jaguars next week, which we know
Okay.
can sustain some drives. Should be a nice divisional matchup there. So yeah, I think I would roll Speed out as your, LB. I don't know, maybe all the way up to LB3. Like just
Yeah.
throw him right in there, assuming Shaquille Leonard does not play.
Yeah. I mean, they're the great. You saw the Buffalo linebackers were eating. I mean, if you combine all them, they had an awesome game. So yeah, EJ Speed should be a top claim. I think regardless of Shaq Leonard's health, I think he's washed. I think he's done. He shouldn't be rostered in most types of leagues at this point. If you've held the bag this long, I guess you're going down with the ship. But hopefully, you can grab EJ Speed on the way down, and he's a little bit of a life preserver there for you. But yeah, I think this game just proved it. I mean, 7 total tackles with a pass defended. Yeah, I can't ask for much better than that. He can be fringe LB too. And this matchup, I think is better than what the Titans one was.
Oh yeah,
I think he can squeak into that, back end LB2 conversation as well for this week only.
for
So
sure.
definitely a priority pickup. Definitely EJ Speed. So no Quiddy Pay this game. Would have liked to have seen Ode Ingbo continue his momentum from last week. He's just not that good, and didn't have a monster week like last week, despite no Quiddy Pay. Samson Ebukam picked up the sack there, the only one, I believe. The only one for the Colts here. So it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be rough, rough to predict outside Buckner. Grover Stewart quietly slumping this year.
Mm.
Was a really nice, waiver wire guy last year. Snaps are like there enough. He's not giving you the production, and these kinds of guys. This happens. People have the glisten and the hope from last year. You got to move on from these guys. Churn, churn, churn. Grab someone else. So all right, now we go to Giants and Miami. And for the Giants, we had a nice pick six out of Jason Pinnock, 35.2 points on 100% of snaps. It's a very top-heavy game. Bobby Okereke right up there, 24.7 on 100% with no Micah McFadden, which we saw Isaiah Simmons play 100% of snaps, which is more than McFadden ever did. So very interesting. He had 16 points. 20 points from Xavier McKinney on 100%. So all the 100% snap guys did very well in this game. Kayvon Thibodeau, 12 points on 93%. And then we drop off Deonte Banks, the rookie corner, 10 points on 47%. If we see that snap count go up for him, he could be a CB required at later in the year, but let's wait a little bit. Dane Belton, the backup safety, 8 points on 72%. Cordell Flott, a corner, 7.5 points, 50%. Trey Hawkins, another corner, 5 points, 26%. Leonard Williams with a dud, 4 points on 65%. Adoree Jackson, their top corner, just 2.5 points on 80% of snaps. Dexter Lawrence with a dud, 2 points, 65%. And Jihad Ward, 1 point of 41%. So the big names here, Pinnock with the pick six. Just 4 tackles, all solo at least, but he is playing 100%. If you're making me pick between Pinnock and McKinney, McKinney's got the better, safer role. Pick sixes are completely random, so you can't count on that going forward. Our guy Bobby O with a really nice game gave us an interception, 2 pass defenders. So maybe these splash plays are coming. Maybe Bobby O starts coming for that, top 12 spot as we predicted earlier in the year. It's only week 5 going into week 6, plenty of time. So who else you got? What else you got for the Giants?
Yeah, I think this is another team where you know who you're playing, like the people that struggled, unfortunately. The Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence was a top 10 DT last year that we kind of were hoping would continue that. He got paid a lot of money to remain there on the Giants. So I'm a little disappointed that that's only that 65% snap share and not really doing much with it. Like that's unfortunate. So
Yeah,
he's not a drop because he has the name value, but he might be one of those ones, kind of like a Jaquan Brisker, where it's like, yeah, you might be going to the bench, my guy, until the production sort of picks right up. But other than that, yeah, I mean, yeah, I would go McKinney over Pinnock as well. But like Pinnock is also playing all the snaps, like he's definitely worthy of a
Oh, yeah.
DB3 like
Mhm.
plug and play him. Um, other than that, it's nice to see Thibodeau finally get some momentum. Obviously only 1 tackle, 1 assist, but he got that sack and he's kind of a menace and he's getting 93% of the snaps, which is awesome at the defensive end spot. So yeah, I think the Giants, you're playing the people that you'd expect to be playing. There were no, to my knowledge, major injuries, so I think we can continue rolling out the same folks each and every week.
Yeah, the big one is Isaiah Simmons versus if and when Micah McFadden comes back. So if you have Micah McFadden and you want to grab Simmons as a replacement, like I said, McFadden has not played 100% of snaps all year. Isaiah Simmons got 100%. So it's very interesting, I think. It's just, are we ready to be hurt by Isaiah Simmons again? That's the question you have to ask yourself in the mirror. 100% of snaps is definitely noteworthy, definitely worth an ad. I don't think I'm throwing him into my starting lineup just yet. I want to see this production continue for more than 1 week against a fluky game, a blowout. Really, this was a blowout against Miami. So again, they're probably like, hey, we trade for this guy. This game's over. Go play all the snaps. Like, no Micah McFadden. Like, I think it might be a little bit of fool's gold here with Isaiah Simmons. So,
Yeah.
a name you do not see on here for multiple weeks in a row now, whether he's played or has been out on injury, Azeez Ojulari, a
Mm-hmm.
humongous
Mm-hmm.
disappointment to start the year so far. In redraft, he's absolutely cuttable, shouldn't be on any roster in just about any league. In Dynasty, you kind of got to hold and just pray he figures out whatever the heck is going on with him from both an injury
Just hope.
standpoint and a playing standpoint. So, it really stinks that he's doing so bad. Kayvon Thibodeau, unfortunately, seems to be a sack or bust type guy.
Mm-hmm.
That stinks too, but he's getting snaps, so you're still kind of hoping and praying that he'll just continue a sack streak for a while. But man, if he doesn't give you the sack, it's a bad
Sad.
day. All right. On the Miami side, we had Zach Sealer, the defensive
Yes.
tackle, with a monster game, 27 points on just 64% of snaps, bolstered by 2 sacks in that one. And a very strong tackle force, 7 total, 6 solos. Eli Apple with the revenge game, 26.5 points on 90% of snaps. I'm probably not chasing that. Jerome Baker, 20 points on 100% of snaps. Cater Kohu, this corner who we all wanted to start this week, turned in a very solid game, 18 points, 100% of snaps. David Long, 17 points on 92% of snaps, very solid. Andy Van Ginkel gets home, 14 points on 82% of snaps in relief of Jalen Phillips. Again, getting really frustrated with Jalen Phillips not being on the field. Bradley Chubb chips in with a decent game, 14 points on 78% of snaps. Deshaun Elliott back healthy, 100% of snaps. Brandon Jones, you don't see on here, he played 0% of defensive snaps, all on special teams. So that kind of stinks. I was hoping for him to at least maybe share, but it looks like they believe in Deshaun Elliott here. 11 points, 100% snaps. Xavier Howard, the corner, 11 points on 100%. Emmanuel Ogba, 11 points on just 38% snaps. Don't chase that again. Javon Holland, double digits, 10 points on 100% snaps. Christian Wilkins, kind of a down game, 8 points, 68%. Raekwon Davis, 6 points, 42%. Deshaun Hand and Justin Bethel, 1 point each, 36 and 8% of snaps, respectively. So, so Zach Sealer's the big story here. I mean, he plays decent enough snaps next to Christian Wilkins, so he's going to have games like this. Not very frequently, but it was nice if you used him on a bye week replacement. Yeah, you could probably pick him up in DT required leagues, but don't expect this kind of production going forward. How about what do you got for Dolphins?
Yeah, what's nice about this Dolphins team is literally anyone you'd even remotely consider playing did pretty well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
even Wilkins having an off day at 8 points, like, you know
right.
what? You'll
I'll
take it.
take
Like
it.
4 assists and half a sack. Like he was a menace if you were watching the game. Like he was around. Just sometimes, didn't end up with actually making the play. But like everyone performed really nicely. And yeah, I think for me, yeah, it's very selfishly, but the biggest story for me is the frustration with Jalen Phillips continuing not to play. Granted, it's an injury. It's not like the
Right.
coaching staff's doing weird stuff. Much like the Lions, the Dolphins keep winning and they look like a freaking juggernaut. So they're not playing to win games now. They're playing to win games in January. So if they're not gonna rush him back, especially when you're getting this kind of production from Bradley Chubb and Andrew Van Ginkel of all people. So monitor that injury. I would assume they're going to ease Phillips back. So even once he's back healthy, I can't imagine he's going to just rush into, back to his regular snap share. So
Very true.
patience is key. Patience is key. Still being a hold. But yeah, really, the rest of these players, like uh, good on Long and Baker at the linebacker position, making the most of the snaps. I mean, 72 defensive snaps is a little over average, right? So
Yeah.
some of those volume stats we'd expect to come down a little bit, but in general, I think those are just solid plays. And the Dolphins score very frequently and
Mhm.
very fast. So I think we can expect there to be a lot of these defensive snaps available for any of these Dolphins players. So yeah, really any one of them you see here, all of these percentages are high enough that you can feel pretty confident streaming any of them. And a few of them, are kind of plug and play starters.
Yeah. Still give me David Long over Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker, 1.5 sacks this game. Like, come on. Um, yeah, he played more snaps technically, but Long had 9 total tackles. 5 of them were assists. So if we, get some more solos out of there, he even with the 1.5 sacks, he would jump ahead of Jerome Baker there. So Javon Holland, continue to play him as a DB1. I mean, he's been super reliable all year. So if he's out there, definitely grab him, especially on the down week if people don't scroll down their points far enough. And Holland is somehow out there. Definitely grab him. Deshaun Elliott in your deeper leagues with defensive backs, starting like 3 or 4, should absolutely be rostered in those leagues. And Andy Van Ginkel, I mean, hang on,
Oh
watch
yeah.
Phillips' status if he's going to be out again. He's a very nice streaming option. He's been out producing Bradley Chubb. They both scored the same this week, but going backwards, it's been Andy, the Andy show. So very very nice out of him. So All right. Okay. I'll read the names, but well, we're starting with New Orleans, so I'll let you take the Patriots when we get to them for the most part. On the New Orleans side, again with a blowout, I did our write up for this one. It's really tough to have strong takeaways here. We 54 snaps is minuscule. Your top scorer was a pick six with nothing else. So Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, 16.7 points on 87% of snaps. Like I said, only the pick six, nothing else. So you take away that, and holy smokes, what a bad game. Kyle Granderson continued to be very solid, 16 points on 65% of snaps. Alante Taylor continuing to be solid, 13 and a half points on 76% of snaps. Pete Werner, 13 points on just 57% of snaps, 3 total tackles, 2 solo, and he was bolstered by an interception. So nice to see some splash plays out of old Petey, but hopefully that snap count was just a product of the game script going forward. Paulson Adebo returns healthy, 12 and a half points. Only Saints player to score fantasy points that played 100% of snaps. Demario Davis, 11 points on 87%. Marshawn Lattimore, 11 points on 87%. Cam Jordan, solid enough, 8 points, 67%. Did get a half of a sack. Jordan Howden, the safety, 6 points on 98%. I don't know, man. The last name is going to kill me. Tano Capasnon, 6 points on 50% of snaps. Jonathan Abram, 5 points on 43%. He'll be back to practice squad. Malcolm Roach to DT, 4 points, 37%. Nathan Shepard, 3 points, 46%. Kalen Saunders, 3 points, 33%. Nephi Sewell, 2 points, 13%. Isaiah Foskey, 1 point on 37%. I left Brian Breesy on there, 0 points on 56%. So that's pretty solid for a rookie DT. But again, in the blowout, just wasn't a lot of opportunity to go around. That's on there to say, definitely I would hold my Brian Breesy shares, even in a redraft league that is DT required. So again, not for the Saints here. Jordan Howden was replacing Marcus May. Marcus May returns from his suspension, so there's some waivers, news for you. You can drop your Jordan Howdens. You can drop your Jonathan Abrams. Marcus May will be back, and if he's out there, probably worth an ad. Him and Matthew kind of split the duties as far as alignments go. So, but neither are super attractive options. Outside of that, I don't have a whole lot else for the Saints. How about you?
Not much to learn. The Patriots, I think, had 8 first downs in this entire game, much to my suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the haters' delight. Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, there was not enough snaps for any volume stats,
Yeah.
Like, this was a very solid day by the real life defense, right?
Mhm.
Kind of bolstered by ineptitude by the Patriots offense, but hey, that's what that offense is. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the 57% for Pete Warner is a little troublesome. Like,
Yeah.
that's you hope it's game script, and we know that he got hurt right earlier in the year. So, like, perhaps it's we're winning by a veritable crap ton. Let's not risk any re-injury there. So you hope it's that. Definitely something to monitor. Otherwise, yeah, I don't think there's much to learn from this game.
Yeah, I think Warner, it had to be game script. Patriots behind more, wide receivers, more pass catchers out there via more, nickel and dime probably packages from the Saints. So the safeties, played a ton. So yeah,
Yeah,
not
and we
not
know Werner's really just a tackle guy, much to your
exactly.
chagrin.
Yeah.
So in a game where, it went very pass heavy right quick, like he wasn't going to be out there. He's not super great in pass coverage. So
Exactly.
uh closer games, I think you're going to see him out there more.
Exactly. All right, I'll read off the stats and I'll let you talk about it. For the Patriots, we have a lot of people that chipped in stats here. So we had Juwan Bentley, 22 points on 78%. Miles Bryant, the corner, 17 points on 75%. Jelani Tavai, the linebacker, 14 points, 69%. Dietrich Wise, 11 points, 64%. Anthony Jennings, 8 points, 64%. Sean Wade, the corner, 7.5 points, 35%. Kyle Duggar, 7 points on 86%. Kind of disappointing there. Jonathan Jones, the corner, 7.67%. Devon Godchild, the defensive tackle, 7 points, 56%. Lawrence Guy, 6 points, 62%. Jabril Peppers, 5 points on 74%, also 29% on special teams with some production. Christian Barmore, the DT, 5 points on 49%. Mac Wilson, the linebacker, 5 points, 25%. Adrian Phillips, the safety, 5 points, 21%, 97% of special teams chipped in the stat. Amir Speed, a cornerback, 5 points, 14%. JC Jackson returns to 2.5 points, just 50% of snaps. Jalen Mills as a corner, 2.5 points, 14% of snaps. Josh Uche, this one hurts me, 2 points on 50% of snaps. Yuck. Sam Roberts at DT, 2 points, 35%. This one probably hurts you. 1 point from Keon White, the defensive end, on 54%. Decent enough snaps. And Jeremiah Farms, 1 point on 19%. Take the wheel.
Look at Adrian Phillips there. He played 30 special team snaps.
Yeah.
30. That's how much the Patriots were on special teams. That's insane. That's like half of what you'd expect for like your regular defensive starters.
Yeah.
Oh, we suck. The Patriots are so terrible. Like like only one player on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. Like and subscribe so you can watch me be in pain the rest of this year because we suck. Played over 80%, Kyle Duggar. And that's always been, obviously it kind of depends by position, but that's sort of the barometers, like are players playing. And Duggar's the only one that cracked 80%. Like it truly feels to me like a Patriots team. And historically, a lot of rotations, and a lot of, keeping people fresh. So, but in recent memory, it has not been this bad. Like this is truly both on offense and defense. I know the defense has been decent enough, but not these last 2 games. From a real life perspective,
Can't really blame them.
Yeah, it seems like both offense and defensive leaders, like we gotta keep trying a bunch of things because something has to work, right? So you said I'd be disappointed by Keon White with the 1 point. I just like seeing the 54% of snaps because at this point, 1 and 4, we have maybe, if not the hardest NFL schedule, one of the hardest. And we were already bad going through. So like, we're not winning anything this year. So I think that we're going to start seeing some of these young guys get up there. The Christian Gonzalez injury, brutal. You had such a great start to the year. One of the only positive things I had going for me, gone for the year. Judon, I guess the only positive there is he can't be blamed for losing production later in the year because of just going later in the year because he got hurt. And who knows when he's going to come back, So we were hoping that some of those defensive ends were going to soak up, his big stat share. But nope, looks like it's back even more to the big old rotation. So, I mean, I still trust Duggar to some extent. Kind of an rough start to the year, but he's getting the play time there. But and Jawan Bentley was also like my guy. Who this is what he does, right? And he's been getting some of those pass rush stats. Yes, only 78%, but like he's 11 combined tackles.
In a
Like
blowout.
But he's producing otherwise. Like he's just a good solid LB3. You're rolling him out there. But I don't think anyone else. Like I don't think there's anyone else. Like you'd hope one of those cornerbacks was gonna, get up to that 100% like Christian Gonzalez did for the snap percentage. So you feel good rolling him out there. But like, nope, no one did. Absolutely no one did. So it's just a disappointing day. Disappointing all around. I think it's really Duggar and Bentley.
That's exactly what I wrote up for this game. They're the only ones that you could trust. So yeah, I was super disappointed. I mean, I knew Anthony Jennings might be the guy. I think him and Uche were both second round picks, if I'm not mistaken. So they're on an equal playing field from a talent standpoint, but we saw Uche do it last year on the field while now, Jennings of course injured. But I said, next week we could see those flip flop. Who knows? And it's not like Jennings got he didn't get home with a sack, so he didn't exactly smash with his opportunity. But
right.
So yeah, I still love my Uchi shares in Dynasty, but yeah, Jennings might be worth the pickup if you have very scoring that rewards the big splash plays, specifically sacks with at least 6 points or more. Jennings is probably worth a pickup. But yeah, you can only trust Bentley and Duggar going forward out of this entire group.
And even then, like Duggar's definitely taking a step back, right? Like he's more
Yeah,
DB2, DB2, DB3 territory at this point until more things happen. Bentley is exactly what we thought he was. So thank you, Bentley, for being something
yeah.
that we can, hang our hat on, knowing what we're gonna
Trust.
get. Yeah, exactly. Everyone else, get out of here. Blow it up. Blow it up.
Not great, Mom. Not great, Matt. All right, we'll let that pain go, and we'll go to Baltimore, Pittsburgh now. Um, Top heavy for Baltimore, Roquan Smith, 20 points, 100%. Typical Roquan Smith things. Right behind him, Patrick Queen, 14 points, 100%. Brent Urban, 14 points on 26%. Let's come on. What's the formula? Don't chase the sack. Look at that low snap count. Don't go chasing it. Arthur Mollett, the corner, 13 and a half points on just 35% of snaps. Same thing. For some reason, he got a sack. Don't really understand why. Brandon Stevens continues a really nice fantasy campaign as a corner, 12 points, 100% of the snaps. Really, really nice breakout year for him. Justin Matabuke, the DT, 11 points, 73%. Marlon Humphrey comes back with a more than solid game at corner, 10 points on just 56% snaps. We'll see that start to tick up and probably take over the Arthur Mollett stats there. Kyle Hamilton, kind of a dud, 8 points on 100%. Marcus Williams returns healthy, matches him, 8 points on 95%. Ronald Darby, 5 points, 44%. Malik Harrison, 3 points, 50. Geno Stone, 3 points, 30%. Michael Pierce, 2 points, 68%. Kyle Van Noy, 2 points, 47%. Travis Jones, 2 points, 33%. Jadeveon Clowney, as soon as I give him a chance, and I talked him up and start sit last week, 1 point on 59%. Broderick Washington, 1 point, 39%. I left Tavius Robinson on there, the edge rusher, 0 points, but did play 44%. So if you need some Hail Marys in super, super deep leagues that very much reward sacks, although this game wasn't great, he's playing a decent amount of snaps. So I have a lot here for Baltimore. What do you got?
I mean, consistency is key, and we've, obviously everyone knows Roquan Smith being,
Yeah.
if not the guy, one of the top few guys,
Yeah.
continues to do it week in, week out. But Patrick Queen kind of building off of his really rebound year last year. And again, he's been pretty much set it and forget it so far. Can't
Yeah.
expect anything else. So that's huge. Like you said, Brandon Stevens is the story here as well at that cornerback spot. Like been a nice revelation for us. Then Marlon Humphrey obviously coming back is nice. Even was playing 56%, making the most of that. That's nice. Then Hamilton, we were hoping he'd be more consistent than he is, but he's getting the play time. So and the usage you'd want. He's just not scoring the points you want. So
Mhm.
he's still as stinky as it is. You're probably not finding a better option on waivers or even on your bench unless you're in a shallower league. So you just got to keep rolling him out there. But
Yeah.
really, everyone else. I mean, Marcus Williams,
Yeah.
decent enough day getting the play time. But this is one of those teams where you have those 4 or 5 guys that we expect to get the playing time and produce. And for the most part, they have the entire year. And everyone else you can kind of forget about. I guess if I were stretching here, Travis Jones only playing 33% of snaps, like
Yeah.
he had been seeing a nice uptick of
Mhm.
stats. Did not transpire in this game, which is unfortunate. So still a hold in those deeper dynasty leagues, but yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate setback there. Meanwhile, Justin Matabuke has been having a secretly awesome year, regularly. So if you're looking for a streaming option at the defensive tackle,
Yeah.
he's really been making the most of his opportunities the entire year. So don't see why that would change.
Still kind of flying under the radar too, I
Hmm.
think. Yeah. Yeah, Geostone back to the waivers. We called that as long as Marcus Williams was coming back healthy. You don't need Geno Stone anymore. Nice to see, Williams seemingly full health, playing 95% of snaps there. So he's a guy. If Williams is out there, if somebody had dropped him due to the injury and whatnot, I would be looking to grab
Go get him.
him. Yeah, for hopefully a better coming forward here. Yeah, we know Pittsburgh's offense, right? Stinks. So, um, All right, on the Pittsburgh side, TJ Watt doing TJ Watt things, 23 points, 86% of snaps. Cole Holcomb finally with a solid ceiling game.
About
21,
time.
yeah, right. 21 points on 91. That's his highest snap count of the year as well. So good to see that. Quan Alexander, though, my guy right behind him on the super efficiency stat line, 20 points on just 44% of the snaps. Minka Fitzpatrick, 16 points, played 100%. Elandon Roberts, 13 points, 41%. So we've got this timeshare at the LB2, which is super annoying. Joey Porter Jr. chips in 10.5 points, 40% of snaps. So nice to see him on the radar. Levi Wallace, the other corner, 10 points, 94%. Alex Highsmith, that's okay floor game, 10 points, 87%. Really nice snap share there. Keanu Neal, 10 points, 60%. Chandon Sullivan, 8 points, 34%. DeMonte Casey, 7 points, 61%. I believe he got injured. Patrick Peterson, 5 points, 90%. Larry Ogunjobi, 5 points, 69%. Nice. Keanu Benton, 5%, 47%, 5 points, 47%. Montravius Adams, the other DT, playing 80% of snaps. So that's going to be relevant in DT leagues, but only 2 points this week. Isaiah Loudermilk matches him with 2 points, 19% of snaps. So it's funny to see how that production can go. And then Armon Watts and Marcus Golden, 1 point each at 26 and 20%. Cole Holcomb, I'm gonna say, nice to see 8 solos, 1 assist. So nice to see them front loaded with solos. Also a tackle for loss, also a QB hit, also a pass defended. So chipping in some splash plays here. Let's hope that continues for all the people that invested in Cole Holcomb. Like I said, the LB2 timeshare is super annoying. I'm a Quan Alexander guy. We've got Elaine Roberts annoyingly hanging around. So what else do you got for the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, I think the playtime snap percentage kind of tells the whole story I want to tell. Like few people on this team you can really trust week in, week out, right? I mean, obviously TJ Watt, you're playing him. He continues to be great. Holcomb finally had that breakout game, played 91% of snaps. Coincidence? I think not. So hopefully he continues to be rocking that. And then Minka Fitzpatrick, he has up and down games. This is one of his more up games, right? Usually lives and dies by the splash play, but still 9 combined tackles. That's awesome to see, but also 100% of snaps, right? And then other than some of the cornerbacks, right? Like not many people are getting the snap percentages you want to truly trust. Highsmith obviously is getting it. He got home with the sack, but he's a bigger boomer bust guy, obviously, than TJ Watt. Like sometimes he'll have his games where he'll have 3 sacks, right? And then he'll have games like this where you were saved by that 1 sack. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The defensive tackle situation is fascinating. Like I've always loved
Yeah.
Larry Ogunjobi playing 69%. Again, nice. That's a decent amount for defensive tackles, but yielded nothing this game. So you can probably find a better floor for defensive tackles than him at this point if you're streaming that position. And then Montravius Adams. I mean, 80%. That's no joke at defensive tackle. If that continues, then that's a nice streaming target. Pretty much in any league size in those defensive tackle required leagues. So all that to say, I think you know which players you're playing. Not really anyone you're really rushing to go out and grab, I think, unless someone was silly enough to drop Cole Holcomb in some of those deeper leagues. But no, I think we know what we got here.
Beautiful. All right, we will move on to Bengals and Cardinals. So on the Bengals end, again, this is another one that's very top heavy with not a ton of defensive snaps, just 57 available. So Trey Hendrickson with a really nice game again, 25 points on 70%. Jermaine Pratt behind him comes back with a boom game, 23 points on 93%. Cam Taylor-Britt had a pick six, 20.6 points on 98% of snaps. Logan Wilson, ho-hum, 15 points, 100% of snaps. No big splash plays outside of a defended pass, but 9 total tackles, but just 4 solo. So led him to kind of a meh game. DJ Turner, the rookie corner, 11 points on 96% of snaps. Mike Hilton, the slot corner, 10 points, 82%. Sam Hubbard, ho-hum, 9.72%. Jordan Battle, the rookie safety, 9 points on 39%. Beats Dax Hill with just 7 points on 100% of snaps. So We're not going to go doing anything crazy there. Keep starting Dax Hill. Nick Scott down to just 5 points and down to 67% of snaps. Might have to do some injury research there. Not sure why he was so low. DJ Reader, the defensive tackle, 5 points on 63%. BJ Hill, the other defensive tackle, to just 2 points on 70%. Not run game, not great here. Connor got injured, so the inside guys, not a lot of production available for them this game. Normally, pretty good options. Joseph Osai, the edge rusher, 2 points on 33%. And Miles Murphy back down to earth, just 2 points on just 12%. Kind of disappointing. We saw him last week. I think he was up in the 30s. So would have liked to see that momentum continue for the rookie, but it was Trey Hendrickson's game along with Jermaine Pratt. 2.5 freaking sacks for Trey Hendrickson. This is how him and Sam Hubbard go. One has a great week, the other has a so-so week, and so it goes on. Josh Dobbs wasn't taking a lot of sacks. So you see only Dax Hill chipped in with the other half sack. So this was all Trey Hendrickson. Nobody else got home here. Jermaine Pratt's big game, bolstered by an interception. Of course, Cam Taylor-Britt without his pick six would have had a pretty crummy game. And I touched on Logan Wilson. So again, that's top heavy here. What were you able to look up anything on that?
I saw nothing from an injury from this game.
That's interesting.
He suffered an injury a few weeks ago, but nothing from this game that I could see. So maybe they're just the Jordan Battle. Battle experience.
Trying to get him in there. I wonder how Nick Scott has been grading. If there's anybody you want to touch up on, I'm gonna look at their grades real quick.
You kind of already touched on it, like the Dax Hill part here. Like you played 100% of the snaps. Don't overreact to this bad game. Like you like the half a sack there. He's still a solid DB3. And again, only 57 snaps. Like that's almost 10 fewer. Than we expect on average there. So don't overreact there. Trey Hendrickson continues to be a great play. DE2 at least. Logan Wilson, ho hum 15 points, but that's what Logan Wilson does, and ho hum wins you matchups, right? So you're obviously playing him. But yeah, I think you are hitting on the main story here, which what's happening to Nick Scott.
So the grades are bad.
Okay.
So if Cincinnati's paying attention and puts any stock into PFF grading, Nick Scott is 4th worst on the team. Meanwhile, Jordan Battle, 2nd best in grading.
Yeah, and we liked Battle coming out of college. Maybe if he's going to be playing well like this, he's going to get that play time, and that's huge.
Albeit on limited snaps, but maybe the coaching staff is just not liking what they're seeing. So definitely something to monitor going forward this next week. Let's watch this playing time split again. And if it continues to, if you want to be, super bullish on Jordan Battle, go get him now. If you want to replace Nick Scott with him, I don't think that would be the worst move maybe going forward here, because that has to be the reason. They must just not be pleased with the way Nick Scott is playing so far this year. So it might be a little premature, but hey, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to do it. Jordan Battle, 2nd round rookie, Alabama, pedigree, kind of makes sense that he would eat into the playing time here. Now, does play more, this is kind of that free safety role, so not as maybe lucrative from a fantasy standpoint, but still the playing time, if it gets there, we know that Jordan Battle has skill. So anything else for the Bengals?
No, let's go over to them Cardinals.
All right, on the Cardinals end, we've been preaching this since week 1, guys. I don't know what to tell you. If you're not following along the videos or the written articles for paid subscribers, use that code IDP +pod, 10% off. Give us a chance. We'll help you. We're going to get you guys like Kevon Wallace. We're going to get you guys like Jordan Battle. We're saying it's not the worst move in the world, but 26.2 points on 100% of snaps for Kevon Wallace, totally replacing Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, to be honest. Just getting all of the great, opportunity in the Cardinals safety role there. So Marco Wilson, the corner behind him, 23 points on 100% of snaps. Antonio Hamilton shows up at corner for 18.5 points on 80%, gave us some tackles on 30% of special teams as well. Kaiser White continues to do, a great job, 18 points on 100% of snaps. Dante Stills was this week's Cardinals defensive lineman. Don't go chasing it. The defensive tackle had 17 points on 51% of snaps, bolstered by a sack. And he had a pretty nice tackle, 6 total, 4 solos. So, but again, it's a different guy every week, right? So not chasing this. Same thing with Kevin Strong, the other DT, 15 points on 57%. Also got home for a sack. Andre Charchere is a corner/safety hybrid guy, 11 points on 96% of snaps. We did talk about him last week. We said it could be interesting to see if he, kind of takes over this free safety role as Jalen Thompson plays more of the slot. And here he shows up with double digits. Keitrell Clark, the other corner, 11 points on just 49% of snaps. So unfortunate to see his snap share drop, but he was still productive from a fantasy standpoint. Same thing, Jalen Thompson, 10 points on just 43% of snaps, and also, only 3 solos with a tackle for loss. He also forced a fumble, so kind of weird to see him dipping down. Good old Victor Dimukeji, 9 points, saw his snap share drop 35% and gave us production on special teams. Josh Woods makes his return to the lineup, 8 points on 83%. So suffice to say, he is the LB2 when healthy. Zaven Collins, the edge rusher, just 8 points on just 56% of snaps. Leaky Fotu, the DT, 5 points, 49%. My guy, Cam Thomas, continues to only get 35% of snaps, 5 fantasy points. Dennis the Barbarian Gardeck, just 3 points on 46%. Tried to warn you. Roy Lopez, the DT, 3 points, 33% of snaps. Joey Blount is a safety from the Cardinals, scored 3 points on 6% and played special teams as well. BJ Ojulari, 2 points on 27%. Ben Stilley, 1 point on 40%. Who you do not see here was last week's top Cardinals scorer, Ezekiel Turner, a 0 burger with a healthy Josh Woods. And we told you not to chase him. So what do we got on the Cardinals, Matt?
Yeah, so Jalen Thompson did leave the game with an injury, did not return, so that could
Okay.
explain the weird snap percentage there. But that means there's an opportunity for someone else, right,
Yeah.
to kind of step in there. So we'll see who the heck that is. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see all these names. You just heard Steve walk through all of these names. Typically, when there's this many names, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
splitting time, right? There's not a lot of people that consistently get out there and play. So I think that the main thing, like we mentioned, Kevon Wallace has been great all year. Absolute smash start. Marco
Yeah.
Wilson at the cornerback spot.
Yeah.
He's been a smash star at the cornerback position. Kaiser White similarly is kind of having a revelation this year, getting the snap percentage, and he's doing stuff with it. But other than that, like I don't trust anyone else, right? Like we know Dennis Gardeck has had some big weeks, but came back crashing back down to earth in this game. I'm just going through these names. Like these are a bunch of names that I've never heard before, right? I'm not a Canton to campus guy, It's like I don't know. There's not a whole lot to like here, you know. It's a scrappy team though. Tell you what, the Cardinals are a scrappy team and they're in these games. Like I wish the Patriots were that scrappy, but they're not. But from an IDP perspective, there's not many people here I would trust in any given week. What about you?
Yeah, it's Kevon Wallace, it's Kaiser White, the Eagles castaways. This gives you a look into the mind of these coaches. As much as we try to predict in fantasy, these coaches do what they do. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. You see this loyalty to these Eagles castaways that he brought with him, and you've got production coming from guys who stunk or at real football or for fantasy previously. So right on the money. I don't have a whole lot else. Yeah, keep your eye on Jalen Thompson. Charchere could be a cheat code depending on his eligibility and Jalen Thompson's health. He appears to be next man up in the safety room there. So keep your eye on him. He's a very, very deep dart throw pickup. But other than that, I'm not really. I mean, Josh Woods, 83% is nice. The LB2 in this system just doesn't get a lot of fantasy production. So I'm not like clamoring to run through the waiver wire. But if you're desperate or in incredibly deep leagues, sure, he's worth a roster spot. So
Precisely.
All right. Our next game is Eagles Rams. My Birds, despite not having a lot of defensive snaps, we had double-digit points from a handful of players, so only 56% or 56 defensive snaps available. The stud, Jalen Carter, 19 points on 70%. Hassan Reddick is back, 17 points, 68%. Reed Blankenship Show, 12 points on 100%. Josh Sweat, 11 points, 71%. Darius Slay, 10 on 100%. Nicholas Morrow, 10 on 100%. James Bradbury, 8.5 on 100%. Justin Evans is the safety 2 when healthy, 8 points on 100% of snaps. Zach Cunningham, 6 points, 86%. Eli Ricks, a corner, 5 points on just 23%. Bradley Roby debuts with just 2.5 points on 45% of snaps. Not bad. Milton Williams, a DT, 2 points, 59%. Kentavious Street, DT, 2 points, 29%. Jordan Davis, a bad game, 1 point on just 41%. Mario Goodrich and Nolan Smith, 1 point each on 32 and 14% of snaps. Story here is Jalen Carter is a beast. No Fletcher Cox in this game, so there was a little extra opportunity, and boy, did he capitalize with the 2 sacks. Hassan Reddick comes back right behind him with 2 sacks. He is officially back. No more casts. I don't know what it is about these casts that hinder these guys, but man, really nice to see the top end production here. Also, it is the Reed Blankenship Show at safety. So yeah, Justin Evans versus Terrell Edmonds. Edmonds was filling in, but apparently you don't see him on here. Didn't play a defensive snap, only played special teams. So he is way back to the waiver wire. Justin Evans is like a fringe DB4 maybe type guy, but Blankenship Show. What else you got for the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, the way Carter's played all year, like even just watching it, like he doesn't even have to show up on the stat sheet. Like just watching the Eagles play, like he is a freaking monster. I don't see them taking him off the field. He just keeps being great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Reddick being back is huge. Those that stuck with it, kudos, you survived. I still don't love that snap percentage, but that's kind of what the Eagles do, and keeping him fresh, he does stuff like this, right? So, other than that, like looking at the linebacker room, especially since Nakobe Dean still being out, I don't know if you have any timeline for his return. But Morrow is the guy. We knew he was LB2, escalated to LB1 here with the Dean injury. Cunningham getting 86% is nice. You wish he had more than 6 points. But again, not many snaps to go by in this game. So you'd expect to see that tick up again against a more competent offense, I guess, even though it's pretty good. I don't know. Just a weird game. But yeah, again, the Jordan Davises of the world take a big hit, especially if Carter's going to get where Davis was, useful when he was getting more 50-50 split with Carter, but Carter's just so outperformed him. I just don't see a world where they can be rolling Davis out there. And hell, even Milton Williams got more playing time than Davis. That's weird. That feels weird to me. But again, we keep saying it and it continues to be true. This Eagles team, like this defense, which players are going to play. You really do. And if you're taking a risk playing a Milton Williams or Jordan Davis, then you kind of know what you're getting into. But this is Carter's defensive line seemingly.
I wrote up this game for the article tomorrow. Jalen Carter, I'm starting him every week at this point. We've seen the ceiling. Whether Fletcher Cox is in or out, I'm taking the bad with the good. And yeah, there might be some duds mixed in there, but with this ceiling for a DT, I'm taking it all day long.
Absolutely.
You could just see the arc is ascending. Nakobe Dean is eligible to be activated, so we'll just have to follow that along. We always knew, look, Nicholas Morrow had a monster game, a career game out of nowhere. We told you that wasn't going to continue. We told you that he is a, LB3 at best on normal weeks. And this is what it is. 10 points, ho-hum, fine. When Nakobe Dean comes back, who knows? Yeah, he's probably droppable again. I don't know. He's just not someone that excites me. We told you not to go chasing, or at least not to expect that historic game from him last week. So he's just very not exciting. His floor, this is his floor and ceiling.
Yeah, this is about what you expect.
was not a ceiling game. That was an outlier, total outlier. So let's just wait and see. We'll have updates for you on the site, on Twitter, all throughout the week. So follow us, follow the site, and we'll have updates on Dean. If Dean comes back, he probably immediately re-enters like an LB2 conversation. Who is this in the shot?
This is Moogle. This is my baby.
Moogle. Hi, Moogle.
Mm-hmm.
Nice butthole, Moogle.
Yeah, it's always that angle,
Mm-hmm. I love it. All right, for the Rams, the top two guys, Ernest Jones, Jordan Fuller, we called them out on the write-up. Must starts this week. Boom, 28 points and 21 points. They both play 100% snaps. This was a plus matchup for both of them. Nailed it. The corner, Darion Kendrick, 19.5 points, also on 100% snaps. So interesting. Killer Witherspoon, normally the 100% guy, 18.5 points on 89%. Of course, the corners were busy against this Eagles offense. Zach Van Valkenburg steals a sack, 11 points on 22%. Do not chase it. Michael Heck, 9 points, 82%. Kobe Turner, the DT, 9 points, 52%. Christian Roseboom, 9 points, 43%. Russ Yeast, 8 points on 100%. Bobby Brown, the defensive tackle, not the former boy band guy, 7 points on 46%. Kobe Durant, the corner, 6.5 points, 67%. Jonah Williams, 6 points on 75% at defensive tackle. Playing next to Aaron Donald with a dud for Aaron Donald standards, 5 points on 77%. Laurel Murchison, another DT, 5 points, 23%. Byron Young, a dud game, 3 points on 73% of snaps. That Van Valkenburg sack should have been his. Duke Shelley, 2.5 points on 11%, and Quentin Lake, 1 point, 18%. I touched on it earlier. If we're being honest with ourselves, Aaron Donald is a streaming option. He no longer is a must start, even in your DT. Give me Jalen Carter all day, every day over Aaron Donald in any format, weekly starting, going forward. Like, that's what it is. It sucks to say. The Aaron Donalds of the world, the Shaq Leonards of the world, they're just kind of reached a point where they're washed. Yes, he still has good games at times, but no thanks. I don't want that headache, because you feel like you're forced to start him every week, right? Because if you try to play the matchups and he goes off, you're going to be like, I can't afford to look like an idiot. Why did you sit Aaron Donald? So I just don't even want him on my team at this point. Outside the studs at the top, like I mentioned, I don't have a ton of takeaways here from the Rams. How about you?
No, I like the Byron Young 73% of snaps. Yes. Tell you what, Jalen Hurts, mobile guy, can run away from just about anything. I was watching this game as well, and Young was making his presence known. Like, he was around the ball. The announcers were commenting on him a whole bunch. Granted, it did not become fantasy points, which is what we care about here. But rookie years are kind of a, for most of these IDP rookies, they're kind of redshirt years anyway. It's like, okay, what can we learn from these folks other than some defensive backs, which can become immediately relevant? But it's like, okay, is Byron Young showing promise, right? And I think he is. So huge dynasty stash, obviously. But with this kind of playing time, there is a world where in a bye week or come fantasy playoffs times, you're going to be calling Byron Young's name for your roster. So I think that's really the only other takeaway I have, other than, continue to start your studs.
Very good. All right. That takes us to Broncos country. Let's lose to the Jets. 29 points from Quincy Williams on 100%. 23 from CJ Mosley on 100%. 19 from Bryce Hall, the corner, on 98%. 16 from Sauce Gardner on 97%. Very nice to see the shutdown guy have a good fantasy game. 14 points for Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher, on 62%. 11 from Bryce Huff, the defensive end, on 44%. Tony Adams back healthy. We'll talk about this. 9 points on 98% of stats for the safety. 8 points from Michael Carter, the corner, on 89%. 5 from Jordan Whitehead on 100%. Dud game for him. 5 from Quentin Jefferson, the defensive tackle, on 49%. 4 from John Franklin Myers, the DE, on 57%. 4 from Jamie and Sherwood, the linebacker, on 10%. 2 from Quinn and Williams on 65%. So dud game as Russell Wilson was running for his life. 2 for Al Woods, the DT, on 22%. 1 from Ashton Davis on 8%. And I left Adrian Amos there, 0% played only special teams, 0 points. So we have Ashton Davis apparently leaping Adrian Amos, and Tony Adams didn't lose his job to injury. So if you quickly touching on that, if you were using Adrian Amos, as long as Tony Adams is healthy, he is a non-factor. And Tony Adams has some upside. So yeah, cut totally. The bad game from Quinn and Williams, like I said, Russell Wilson's kind of running for his life. Yeah, you got to start him, right? What else you got for the Jets here?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're always playing CJ Mosley, right? Quincy Williams, very nice day, 100% of snaps. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's
you're he's always playing him now.
Yeah, he's always going into this year a bit of a tweener. It's like, oh, is he an everyday kind of guy? With that kind of snap percentage? Yeah, he absolutely is. You kind of gotta go throw him in that LB4, LB3 spot. I mean, this is a huge game. 2 sacks. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you with this defensive line, it's kind of hard to know which ones are going to go off any given week. We know they're very good. This week was Jermaine Johnson, awesome, and Bryce Huff, awesome. Go off, Kings. And Quinn Williams, didn't do it. But like, I don't have any confidence in saying, yep, go shove Huff and Johnson in your lineup next week, and they're going to do anything, right? I think it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster with this defensive line. Yeah, just disappointing game by Jordan Whitehead. The snap percentage is there. Obviously, the Broncos don't have a prolific offense. You can see only 63 snaps, a little below average, but not anything to write home about. So I think some of those volume stats will come back up there. But yeah, I don't know if there's much more to analyze about this game. Like the studs are the studs. The perceived studs, some of them had some bad games, namely Quinn and Williams, but you got the talents there. So you kind of keep rolling them out there and hoping for the best.
Yeah, just kind of a 2 kind of down games for Jordan Whitehead, but the snaps are there. He should bounce back. He's just not maybe an every week DB1 locked in guy anymore.
Right.
So, all right. On the Denver side, Pat Surtain, 19.5 points on 100%. Zach Allen finally has a good game. The DT, 19 points on 86%. Damari Mathis, the other corner, 16.5 on 100%. Kareem Jackson, the safety, 16 on 91%. Nick Bonito stays strong, 16 points on 74%. Alex Singleton, 15 on 100%. Elijah Garcia, an outlier game, 10 points on just 17%. Don't chase it. Justin Simmons back healthy, solid 9 points on 100%. Jaquan McMillan, a corner, 8.5 points on 52%. Jonathan Harris, a DT, 8 points on 78%. Jonathan Cooper, still decent game, 7 points on 86%. Josie Jewell comes back, but only 6 points on 86%. Maybe not 100% healthy yet. Mike Purcell, the DT, 6 points on 43%. And Ronnie Perkins and DJ Jones, each with 2 points on 23 and 18% of snaps. I'll let you take the Broncos here.
Yeah, I mean, weird game script. Missed field goal. Haha. Idiots. Raiders are up 17-13 with 1:56 to go. The Raiders, being up 4, decided to go for a 52-yard field goal on 4th and 2 to put them up still 1 touchdown score away instead of just trying to go for it. And now they're going to give the Packers the ball back right there. Interesting notes of this game. Quay Walker hurt right in the first half. Don't know what it is. I'm like, I'm not seeing much Quay Walker right now. Hurt. And Max Crosby continues to do Max Crosby things. 5 tackles, 4 for loss and a sack. So it's just kind of fun to see. Anyway, this happens every week. This is what you expect from us now, right? Like, we got it. You're gonna have your little Monday.
Hell yeah.
Happening. But yeah, I mean, the Broncos. We got the Josie Jewell, Alex Singleton pair back, fully healthy. You see Drew Sanders not relevant at all, not even showing up, which is kind of what we expected from him this year. He had a nice little game last week when I forget which one was hurt, Singleton or Jewell. Jules hurt. But when they're two of them are healthy, those are the two guys, right? So kind of what we expect here. Pat Surtain, that's a lot of points for someone that's not usually thrown to quite a bit. So it's nice to see that. I mean, he gets the play time, so I would not fault anyone for, even though he doesn't typically do this well, throwing him out there because to score points, you got to be out there. So that's nice to see. Zach Allen, defensive tackle, playing 86% of snaps is just tasty. He roll him out there with confidence. And then, I think the biggest story for me is Nick Bonito. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
2 sacks, 74% of snaps. Like, he's on the up and up. They're trusting him. They're throwing him out there for better or for worse. This Broncos team is not a good football team, but that gives opportunities for people like a Nick Bonito, who I'm assuming is grading well, but is finally making those be points. So if you are in deeper leagues, he's definitely worth a bench spot. I don't know if I'm yet at a point where I would trust him other than like deep leagues. But he's definitely making his case.
Yeah, Nick Bonito is a matchup play, but he should absolutely be rostered. This is a former second round pick. I've heard people, throwing out there their concerns like Baron Browning is coming back. Who cares about Baron Browning, a fifth, I think, round guy who's a converted edge rusher? Like, we're really worried about him versus a second round guy who was drafted to be an edge rusher. Like, I'm really not that concerned about Baron freaking Browning whenever he comes back. So Nick Bonito is very good. Second rounder again. So I'm firing him up in plus matchups, weak offensive lines or quarterbacks that take sacks like Zach Wilson, and like Justin Fields the previous week. So he if the matchup's there, if I've got like a top 10-ish matchup, which we will break that down for you in our start sit articles, I am firing up Nick Bonito going forward. Cooper's got slightly the edge on the snap counts, but that could very easily flip flop as Nick Bonito continues to turn in the production if the Broncos feel like they want to continue to try to win at all. So people that are worried about Baron Browning, that's
get out of here.
I'm not really that's kind of an odd thing to be worried about. So
Broncos do have the Chiefs next week, which I don't know is
so that's a bench
I don't know if that's one I'd roll him out there, which of course is gonna have 3 sacks, right?
Yeah, that would be shocking. But Justin Simmons, nice to see him back. People dropped him due to the injury. I'd be interested in looking him up. Kareem Jackson, old man, continues to be productive here on close to 100% snaps, playing 91%. Worth a look in 4 DB rostering position leagues or greater. And until we see Jewel take over Singleton in snap counts, you might want to keep him on the bench. As tough as that is to say, I just don't know if maybe the health isn't 100% there. So he becomes more of a matchup play going forward. All right, we're almost there. Chiefs Vikings. So on the Chiefs side, we've got boom. Although both of them, Snead and McDuffie, are at the top. 26 points for Snead on 100%, 25.5 for McDuffie on 99%. So really nice games from the corners there. Both very high tackle floors. Justin Reed chips in 20 points on 100%. So he finally gives us a good game. The snaps have been there, just kind of waiting for him to give us some production. Drew Tranquil still, Nick Bolton, I think, was kind of like almost like a game time decision. Not go again. So here's Drew Tranquil being relevant to my chagrin. 14 points on 100% snaps. Chris Jones doing Chris Jones things, sack or bust at this point. 13 points with the sack on 78% of snaps. Michael Danner continues to be, very solid. 12 points on 79% of snaps. Worth a look in your deeper DL leagues. Willie Gay is the LB2 still, 11 points, 71% of snaps. Jalen Watson, the corner, just 10 points on just 43% with some special teams production as well. Brian Cook, the safety, back up in his snap count, 9 points on 76%. So I guess they trusted him this game, or he played well enough to not lose snap share to Mike Edwards. So Leo Chenal, my guy, 8 points on just 18% of snaps, but does get home for a sack. So give the guy a freaking chance. Joshua Williams, a corner, 7 points on 40%. Mike Edwards, 5 points, 54%. So, maintaining that 40 to 50% snap share. My other guy, George Karlaftis, just a dud. 2 points on 79% snaps. Great snap share, just not giving us any production. Derek Nandi, the defensive tackle, 2 points on 50%. Felix Anduke Uzoma, the rookie defensive end, just 2 points on just 35%. And Trishawn Wharton, 1 point on 32%. Chiefs.
Yeah, it turns out the answer to Snead versus McDuffie was both.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been that way all year,
Awesome.
right? Like cornerbacks will have up and down weeks, right? And
Yeah.
each of them
Always.
kind of has had a dud of a week, but the rest of the weeks they've been absolute fire. So yeah, the answer is both. Both should absolutely be started with confidence. I think at this point, like there's not many cornerbacks I like more than either one of them in any league size. So love that. Yeah, Tranquil is the linebacker when Nick Bolton's out, which is interesting. I too wish Leo Chanel was getting more run, former
Yeah.
Badger. Go Badgers.
Yeah.
But is what it is. That is a pick, and that will be the game. The Raider.
Oh.
Oh, no flag, no flag, no flag. Packers yellow helmets always throw me. Yep, that looks to be the game.
Yeah.
Rip. Okay. So otherwise, yeah, I mean, you're starting Chris Jones wherever you have. You're starting Justin Reed wherever you have. And there's not many other players you're playing. Like obviously Karlaftis, the 79% is so
It's so
nice.
frustrating.
And it was
Nice. Yeah.
for nothing, for
Mhm.
nothing. So you assume things are going to turn around for him there. Meanwhile, Michael Dana, with the 79% actually got
Mhm.
home. So hard to trust anyone, right? Like it really is. Like it really is. Defensive ends are so fickle in the first place. Like again, you don't have many Max Crosbys out there who just every week will get you something. So yeah, I think monitor the Nick Bolton injury. That will tell you how much you want to be rolling True Tranquil out there, or especially Willie Gay. But otherwise, yeah, continue to play the people you've been playing from this Chiefs team.
Absolutely. All right. On the counterpart, the Minnesota side, kind of a low scoring IDP affair for the Vikings. So Jordan Hicks, 18 points, 100%. Harrison Smith, is still continuing the momentum from last week, 18 points, 100%. Cameron Bynum, right behind him, 17 points, 100%. Two studs. Marcus Davenport decides that he wants to play football now. So 14 points on 79%. I'll take it, Seacrest. Josh Metellus, the safety, who I really like, 13 points, 85%. Love it. Mekhi Blackman, the rookie corner, 12 and a half points, 70%. Very nice. Daniil Hunter, 9 points, 77%. Got home for a sack. Pretty much lived off of that. Not a whole lot else to go with it this week. Byron Murphy, the other corner, 8.5 points, 100%. Jonathan Bullard, the defensive end, 8 points on 61%. Harrison Phillips, the DT, still solid, 7 points on 70%. Ivan Pace, another kind of clunker, 7 points, just 58% of snaps, gave us some special teams production as well. So did DJ Wanham, comes crashing back down to earth. We told you, because he's just not very good. 6 points on 56% of snaps also gave us special teams production. Caleb Evans, the corner, who was seeing 100% of snaps, I believe got injured. 5 points on just 50% of snaps. Patrick Jones, the edge rusher, 2 points, 45%. Troy Dye, backup linebacker, 2 points on 3%. And Dean Lowry, the defensive tackle, just 1 point on 33% of snaps. So this is pretty much the same story here as the Chiefs. You start your studs in Hicks, Smith, and Bynum. Beyond that, it's a crapshoot. Like I said,
Yep.
Marcus Davenport maybe is healthy and maybe is deciding to play football well. The past 2 weeks had some decent games. I would prefer him as much frustrations as we have with Marcus Davenport. Still give me him over DJ Wanham like 100 times out of 100.
Oh yeah.
But still gonna, he's giving us this glimpse here, and now you're gonna start him next week, and he'll give you nothing. So just proceed with caution on Marcus Davenport. Probably worth a pickup in DL require or in your deeper leagues that start 3 to 4 DLs should absolutely be rostered and possibly started, but it's a complete 50-50 crapshoot.
Yeah, and Danielle Hunter is also still worth some run in deeper
Oh, of
leagues. Like
course.
he's still got it. I feel like he hasn't had a game that was like, holy crap, he's back in a
Yeah.
minute. But you'll take the stack here and those
Yeah.
9 overall points. And yeah, I think we were maybe as an industry too excited about Ivan Pace and his potential
A little
a little bit, which I mean it's not good. I mean, 58%, 7 points. Again, it's not nothing, right? So, like, not enough for you to, if you're just scrolling through being like, yeah, of course he played well. Like, we got the 7 points. It happens. I don't know. You can find better options out there than Ivan Pace at this point. The Vikings are going with the one LB strategy. So, I'd be very interested to see what they do. There's a lot of smoke around some trade deadline stuff, at least on the offensive side, with
Ooh.
Kirk Cousins only having
Oh,
1 year left and the Vikings not being very good, being on the other side of that, close game margin luck this year. So I'll be interested to see if that does at some point, with any of these other, bad teams, if that ends up impacting play time as we move forward. So definitely something we'll be looking out for. But as for now, yeah, you're playing Hicks, you're playing Smith, you're playing Bynum, and then not really much else.
Metellus is getting some run
You
there.
you could play Metellus and then maybe
He's
Hunter, but yeah, other than that,
matchup plays.
yeah,
Metellus at 85%. He's basically your LB2
right,
in this system. So he's got some. We'll put it this way: he's got more upside than Pace. And Pace is a matchup play against like your run heavier teams, I would say,
for sure, for sure.
at this point. So, all right, and our final game, another whomping, was the 49ers over the Cowboys at home. So again, the Cowboys keep having these weird games for
Are they
IDP.
good?
Either they're
We don't
blowing
know.
people out or they're getting blown out. Like this, which is not leaving us a lot of great information yet for IDP purposes. So you're pretty much starting Parsons, although 2 dud games in a row. So that's 2 really good games, a decent game, and 2 dud games. So my preseason prediction, again, not a bust, just not the 101, not the first IDP. That was my
Right.
message. So, giving you 2 dud games here back to back. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Um,
boy.
so we had Stephon Gilmore, 16 on 99%, Jaron Curse, 15 on 83%, Leighton Vander Esch, 15 on 82%, Damone Clark, 14 on 65% with some special teams production as well. Donovan Wilson, all right, 12 points on 77%. That's up from 50 and 59%. We like to see that. Jordan Lewis, the corner, 12 points on just 42%. Malik Hooker, the safety, 11 on 89%. Deron Bland, kind of a back down to earth on 9.5 points, 83%. Jonathan Hankins, 9 points, 56%. Osi Odigizua, 6 points on 54%. Marquise Bell, the safety linebacker hybrid, backup reserve guy, 6 points, 32%. Micah Parsons, just 5 points, 83% snaps. That's good snap percentage. Demarcus Lawrence, a dud, 4 points, 48%. Malik Jefferson, a backup linebacker, 4 points on just 8%. Chauncey Golston, the DT, 3 points on 27%. Dante Fowler, the DN, 3 points, 18%. Neville Gallimore, DT, 2 points, 35%. Dorrance Armstrong, 2 points, 32%. Mazzie Smith, 2 points, 31%. Sam Williams, the DN, 1 point, 28%. So this defensive line rotation was brutal for fantasy purposes. All your points were at the further 2 levels of the defense, at your linebackers and your safeties this game, which when you're getting your ass handed to you by the 49ers, kind of makes sense that it shook out this way, despite there not being a lot of fantasy points to go around in general, because you were turning the ball over or getting scored on by the 49ers on most drives. So when games like this, right, tough to take away a lot, right?
Yeah, a bit of a thwomping,
Yeah.
so to speak. Not a whole lot to really take away. I was just looking it up just for conversation's sake. So,
Yeah.
with this scoring, Parsons is the 12th overall defensive end this year with,
Okay.
a few quite a few of those top 10 being people that we would not have predicted to be in the top 10,
Right.
which is the fun part about IDP. But someone else who was in the 101 conversation, namely Mr. TJ Watt, is absolutely wiping the floor with everyone there. But yeah, the other one name that comes to mind, Osa Adigizua, fun to say. Yeah, more fun to watch play football. Yeah, the 54% of snaps is a little lower than what we've been seeing.
Was
But he's the
trending down,
18th.
man.
He's the 17th rated defensive tackle right
Nice.
now in this scoring system, aided by a pretty decent week one.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's someone that stable defensive tackles are hard to find.
Yeah.
But what he's been doing is pretty dang stable. Like he's not going to be your
Mhm.
DT1, but if you're looking for that DT3 or DT2, if you're in those really deep leagues, you can do a whole lot worse
Yeah.
than him. And again, this game got out of hand real quick. So again,
Mhm.
not much to learn there, but that's just one of those names where, obviously this defense has a lot of, big stud names on it, people we've known about. But yeah, Adigazua is quickly becoming one of those defensive tackles where it's like, oh, I can plug and play him as that DT3 and feel fairly confident with it. He's not putting up zeros as you can sometimes get with those deeper DT spots. So
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, not a whole lot to really talk about here because, weird game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned Donovan Wilson. We wanted to see him creep towards that 80% mark that we like to see from pretty much any uh, IDP player not on a defensive line. Of course, if defensive linemen are hitting that snap share, that's amazing. So yeah, it might be time to give Donovan Wilson a look, both off waivers and potentially in your starting lineups as a DB3/4 option there.
Yes, sir. And Cowboys Chargers next week too. So there should
Oh,
be a
that
lot
could
of
be juicy.
opportunities.
Yeah. And Van Der Esch continues to just be ho hum. Damon Clark, people love Damon Clark for whatever reason. And yeah, he's fine, whatever.
I mean, Van Der
Just
Esch
stupid beast.
is, yeah, he is. Why am I blanking on his name? Because we've been recording for 2 hours. The guy on the Pats. Um,
Oh, Juwan Bentley. Yeah.
yeah, he's Juwan Bentley. Like he's just
He's the
like LB.
Cowboys Juwan Bentley.
Yeah,
Yep.
like
Perfect.
uh, LB3 plug and play, and you're not gonna be mad.
Perfect analogy. All right. For the San Fran side, we're a little top heavy. Fred Warner, 31.2 points on 73%. So, of course, that tells you the starters were pulled at a certain point. But hey, we still got production from our top linebackers right behind him. Dre Greenlaw, 19.73%. Oren Burks, the backup linebacker, chipped in off of an interception, gave us 16.1 points on 51%. Don't taste that. That was purely game script. Tashawn Gibson, the safety, the old man, 13.6 on 73%. Nick Bosa gives us his half of a sack and 4 QB hits. So he's right there. The monster game is coming, but 13.69, nice percent. Kevin Givens, the DT, 12 points on 45%. Isaiah Oliver, their slot corner, 9.5 points on 63% and chipped in with some special teams production. Ambry Thomas, another corner, 8.5 points, 24%. Not worth chasing. Trevarius Ward, 7.5 points, 73%. He's their starter. Along with Demador Lenoir, 7 points, 76%. Eric Armstead, the DT, 6 points, 55%. Cleveland Farrell shows up for 4 points on 63%. Javon Hargrave, kind of another slumper, stinker, 3 points on 55%. Getting a little worried about him. Talano Hufanga, stinker, 2 points on 73%, but he is prone to do this. He is very much propped up by his big splash plays. D. Winters, backup linebacker, 2 points, 12%. Austin Bryant, 1.41%. The rookie who I'd like to see get more share over Sean Gibson is Jair Brown, just 1 point, just 27%. And I left Drake Jackson, 0 points on 27%. Game one, we told you, don't chase that. Not don't chase it, but like don't expect that. And here he is with a zero burger after many more dud games in front of this. So, in a blowout, what do we got for the 49ers?
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing we've been saying, right?
Yeah.
Like they pulled the starters, but the starters crushed it.
Yeah.
Like I part of
Start your
me
studs.
like feels alive when Fred Warner does stuff like this because I'm like a
Yeah.
big like I love Fred Warner, not
All right.
because
Yeah.
not because like I think he's a top 5 linebacker. It's just everyone hates him. Seemingly everyone hates him. Like he
In
sucks. Like get him
fantasy.
out of here. Yeah, in fantasy. Yeah, for fantasy purposes. But it's like he is who he is. Like just know you're gonna get an LB12 and you're gonna pay LB12 for him, right? So he's something like this after it's like, haha, I told you. He's fine. But yeah, not a whole lot to learn here. The Hufanga one personally hurt me quite a bit.
Oof.
Pretty heavily leveraged with him. But like you said, this is what he does. And next week he's gonna, be leading this team with, a sack and 2 pass defends and interception for a touchdown. That's just kind of what you get with the Hufanga experience.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, you're still playing your Bosas, right? You're still playing your Greenlaws, your Warners, and Hargrave, like you have to assume he's going to come back stronger than that. But again, this game script was just awful for the defensive line,
True.
really, the defensive tackle. So brighter days are definitely coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a healthy Deshaun Gibson is unfortunately your more traditional strong safety. Actually, let me quickly, look at where the lineups were because yeah, that's what with Hufanga, you just have to understand that yeah, his role is that more they're trying to put him in a position for those big plays because that's what he excels at.
Right.
Yeah, the most snaps that he played in this game was at the free safety position, whereas Deshaun Gibson plays more balanced slot, free safety, box. So Hufanga had 2 snaps in the box only. So
Oof.
yeah, and when you have a deflated snap count like this was, you know,
Even fewer chances. Yeah.
exactly. That's just kind of how it shakes out, unfortunately. So, all right, that does it, I believe, for this week. So I am Steve Thompson and Dicey Santa on Twitter. DM's open. Hopefully, you don't have to be verified to DM me. But if so, then just tag me on a tweet if you need any help. But we love to see you in our Discord chat where you have direct access pretty much 24/7 to myself, to Matt, to all of our top notch analysts to help you manage your teams. That is only available as a subscriber to the IDP guys. So idpguys.org. We're unique in that sense. We're a .org site. Gotta love that. And if you want to give us a shot for a month, use the IDP Plus. That's a plus sign pod for 10% off. So Matt, I'll let you take it home from here.
Yeah, I watching that Raiders game against the home team Packers where I live now. I am terrified of what Max Crosby is going to do to the porous Patriots offensive line next week, while also watching Jacoby Myers lead the team with I think like 7 catches and a
That's the
touchdown.
point.
Was it another touch? I think he scored another touch. Did he? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But it's like, oh, and we let him go. So we're gonna watch him just absolutely destroy us next week. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll be. That's what I'll be excitedly looking forward to. So you'll see a whole lot of sad Matt. I was gonna channel that into some music. There's definitely a lot of angsty stuff about to be coming y'all's
Yeah.
way.
Excellent. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right. We will see you guys next week. And thanks for listening.
Yes, sir.